Where are the eggs from? Driving me insane. Where are the eggs from? Hi, thank you so much for giving a brand new booktuber a chance. My name is Shelby and this is Shelby Reads. I'm a femme lesbian who has a wonderful butch wife that I've been with for almost 13 years now. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hear more about sapphic books. That's pretty much all I read. There are exceptions, but not very many. Today's rant review will be about Without Hesitation by Talia Jager. It is a sci-fi romance book. This book is the first book in the Beyond Earth series. Will I read the other ones? You guys can bully me into it if you like this one. I am now going to read the synopsis to you. Without Hesitation is set 1,000 years in the future. Earth has become a wasteland. Humans traveled into space to colonize other suitable planets. Labels and stereotypes are a thing of the past, and gender and sexual identity are as fluid as love as humans strive to survive. Here we meet Everlay, the commander of her ship named Nirvana. She is under the control of an evil madman, Caspar, who keeps her family captive. He sends her to Valinor to abduct the Empress Acacia. When she arrives, she is taken aback by Acacia's beauty, and when the Empress fights back, Everlay realizes she has met her match. We're going to go over some trigger warnings as given by Storygraph, but I also put them there on Storygraph too, so you won't be surprised, okay? Colonization, kidnapping, violence, gun violence, torture, trafficking, sexual content, drowning, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, crime, murder, fat phobia, blackmail, shuttle crash, eugenics, blood, death, injury/injury detail, and I would also say sexual assault attempted/barely mentioned. We will get to it when we get to it. Now we have to do the disclaimers super quickly. We're going to try to fly through this because my script is super long this time. Number one, this review is not for authors or stans of this author's work. Reviews are for readers. If you are here because you like this book, click off. You're not going to like to hear me talk about it. Number two, this review will contain spoilers, all of the spoilers. I'm going chapter by chapter throughout the book, so if you don't want it to get spoiled and you really want to read this, maybe also come back to this. Number three, I am not bashing sapphic books. I believe that we have the right to have terrible books and amazing books. But I also believe that I have the ability and the right to yap about them as much as I want. When I am talking about these books that I hate, I am never saying that these books should be banned. I do not believe in book banning. I know that in the climate we're in right now, it's not great. However, me greatly disliking a piece of fictional work does not equate to me thinking that that work should not exist, period. And as I always say, no creative work is above critique and review. Okay. Number four, this book makes me angry. If you don't want to see me getting annoyed and angry and upset for the next however many hours, I would skip on to the next one. I have great monthly wrap-ups that are not as negative overall, overwhelmingly. And number five, this is made by an indie author. I still believe that we should support indie authors, and just because I didn't like this book doesn't mean that you won't like this book. If you're listening to the things I say and you think, hey, that sounds right up my alley, you should go and support them if you want to. However, I didn't like this book, so I'm going to give you a different indie author to go support if you're so inclined. My recommendation for today is Rhythm Riders by Lena George. I thought that I would not like this book because I don't like anything to do with sports or working out. Like, I didn't think I was going to like this book that is about cycling. And I actually highly enjoyed it. I had such a good time reading it. I thought the romance was done really well. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. I really enjoyed it. Correction, I gave it 4.75 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. My bad. I enjoyed this book heavily. Am I partially doing this book because I hate it? Yes. Am I also partially doing this book because I want to prove that I don't just hate on random romance books? I hate genres that I overall prefer more. Some of the books in there too. Yes. I love sci-fi, I love fantasy, I love dystopian. Those are my main faves, and I like there to be romance in those. However, there can be terrible books in these genres also. I'm not just picking on romance, I promise. Chapter 1, we start in Acacia's point of view. This is a dual POV book. I don't necessarily have anything against that, but I just... I know a lot of other people don't love them, and I can kind of see why a lot of the times, and this book is one of those times, I fear. Acacia right now is on the planet Valinor. It will be a big plot point later. We will get to it. Acacia, like the synopsis said, is the empress of this planet. Acacia is sparring with this guy named Bristow. They're doing kendo, which is, you know, a Japanese traditional fighting thing with the sticks, right? And they have apparently been learning this for 6 months. I always find it interesting what authors decide to keep from Earth in space romances or just space books in general. Like, kendo obviously has a much larger Japanese cultural context, but overall it doesn't so much in the West. Also, whenever I think about kendo, I just think about Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is a masterpiece.
All women are queens. If she breathes, she's a thought!
We learn that Bristow is stronger than Acacia, but Acacia makes up for it with speed and agility. Number 1, agility partially means to move quickly, which is what? Nearly the same thing as speed. Number 2, this trope always happens with women fighters in these kinds of books, and I hate it. I feel like the author is always trying to take an opportunity to tell us that the woman is still small and attractive. Don't worry, guys. I don't know if that's all these authors' intent, but it definitely feels like it. Like, there are so many rare instances where a woman is a brick house, where a huge butch woman with huge muscles is barreling down everybody. That is something I adore about Vi from Arcane, and I will die on that hill. And even if it's not how they're intending it to come across, that's how I usually take it. And remember, this is my channel, and I can think and say what I want. Acacia asks Bristow what's going on because she can tell he's not giving his all. They pull away to talk about it before Acacia has survival class. They go past the orchards towards a large body of water to sit down and talk about it. Finally, Bristow blurted, "I got an offer to go with Treg on their mission to Zoider to trade. It's a small step toward my dream." My hand froze in the air for a few seconds before I threw the stone. "You're leaving?" I haven't given them a definite answer yet, but yes, I'd like to go. He turned to look at me. "We're taught to live life to its fullest. Getting off this planet is what I want to do." I wanted to be happy for him, but all I felt was sadness. "Is it so bad here?" "No, Case. Bristow was the only one who called me this. I suppose growing up together gave him the right. I was Empress Sparks to most people, Acacia to others, and close friends called me Cassie. It's not bad. I just want to see the galaxy. Don't you remember our dreams? Remember how we used to talk about exploring off-planet?" Of course I do. The mystery of what's out there, the beauty of other worlds, the excitement of meeting other species, if there are any. What's not to love? I remembered the many times we talked about exploring the universe, going on trips, finding new planets. Being confined to such a small area for so much of our lives, it made us want to see the universe. The dialogue here feels so unnatural to me personally. It always feels like they're trying to speed run the information to you, but the conversations themselves are very unnatural. Also, when two characters know each other well, they do not have to explain each other's character lore to one another. They would already know about the conversations, and I feel like it's very stunted and weird to be like, "Remember all those times we talked about this thing?" Like, I feel most of the time humans do not speak this way. And there are ways for authors to get this information across far more organically in a way that we all can enjoy without it being this. Speaking of info dumping, we then get info dumped on the next paragraph. Acacia and Bristow's parents work together. Acacia's father was the emperor, but he was also a scientist. Bristow's parents had worked with mine. Besides being the emperor, my father was also a scientist. They were all murdered in a failed attack to get control of our planet 12 years ago. I didn't recall the details very well, and nobody talked about it, but I did remember Bristow had been with me the day our parents were killed. Even at 7 years old, he was kind and compassionate. When he should have been mourning his own parents, he had put his arm around me while I cried. When those in charge came for me, I demanded he come too. They tried to separate us, but I had such a grip on his hand that they let him stay. He became my family. From then on, we were inseparable. Bristow and I spent the next 9 years sequestered in the compound where we played together, went to school together, and trained together. 3 years ago, when I had passed my 16th winter, Galton told me it was time that I took on all the responsibilities of being the Empress of Valinor. Especially when we are in first-person POV, this feels unnatural to me, the info dumping about your own life story, like you're talking about it in your head to yourself. Like, it just feels like they're walking around narrating their own life up until this point to nobody. This isn't how people think. Acacia tells Bristow that she's worried about him going because it isn't safe. He reassures her that her guards are great. Staring up into the violet sky, I said, I could order you to stay. Case. His face fell. But I won't. Tomorrow isn't promised. We must live for today without hesitation. So go, Bristow, but promise me you'll come back. I leaned my head on his shoulder. Reminding your friend that you have a position of power and authority over him is gross and weird. And it was literally just so she could say something that she thought was profound, but she repeats this idea throughout the book, so it becomes not profound so fast you won't even believe it. Also, you could have just said the thing that you intended to seem profound and not threatened him. You could have just said the thing. I'm also reading these sections to you so you understand what we're working with here. There's a lot of telling, almost no showing in this entire book, and it is only 200 something pages, but it feels longer than anything I've ever experienced. Despite her threatening him, he does agree that he will come back, and he kisses her on the forehead. Some guy named Galton sneaks up on them, and Acacia yells, "Crikey!" which is why I think I should attempt a poor Australian accent for the rest of this. If you guys hate me, too bad. Galton tells her she needs to get back to the compound because there is an unidentified spacecraft hovering over them, and they don't really know why they're here. They're like just outside the perimeter, I guess, apparently. Acacia apologizes to Bristow for cutting their conversation short and then says, no hesitation again, because we have to be hit over the head with this when we're not even 15 pages in. The more you say something, the less profound it becomes, I promise. The compound is hidden in the side of a mountain, and it is north of a village called Bale? B-A-I-L-E? Who knows? You cannot see the compound, but you can see parts that are like camouflaged, I guess. And they have like more sophisticated camouflage technology to hide it further from view. Inside the compound, there are a lot of pictures lining the wall, including pictures from Earth when it was nearly just like before it was nearly destroyed 1,000 years ago-ish. There are also pictures of Acacia's family, including her great-great-grandmother, Malu, who was the first empress of the planet. Their government is explained to be a monarchy, but it is passed down regardless of gender/sex. She goes to the control room where there are a ton of computers. Galton then shows her one of the computers specifically. They cannot identify who is in the ship, and when they tried to, no one would answer when they communicated with the ship. Acacia then says, hey, is it pirates? And Galton's like, hey, that's possible. We don't really know. Acacia is supposed to go to a summit the next day, which is for the Alliance, which is capital A, and that's supposed to take place on another planet called Kypra. She is supposed to leave in a matter of hours, and she asks if they are supposed to be here for that, but Galton does not think so. She asks for what the options are, but pretty much the options are either wait and see or fire when it gets close enough for them to fire upon it. But we've established that their compound cannot be easily seen, so wouldn't firing on this ship be a terrible idea and give away their position? They don't talk about that, though. They talk about whether that ship's weapons could reach them or not. Which, again, that might be important, but you're camouflaged. They shouldn't be able to see you, so they don't know what they're firing at. It's like when they were shooting at District 13 in the Hunger Games trilogy, and they didn't know what they were shooting at, so they didn't actually do as much damage as they were trying to do. Also, we still don't even know if these people are here to bother them. I have the blessed foreknowledge because I've already read this book, but like they don't actually know that. Thoughts filled my mind as I stared at the screen. If we did nothing, they could attack, kill us all, and take my planet. If we fired on them, we could start a war. Neither option was good. I feel like we already know that these people are a threat and are going to end up not being good based on the reactions of these characters who aren't supposed to have any idea, but clearly the author did not think that hard about it. I also think that the stakes do not need to be this spelled out immediately right away. I think that you can slowly introduce some stakes. I feel like the weapon stakes and the random scary ship there is like enough. I feel like we don't have to like catapult towards war and other consequences right away. Like, again, all of the things they've already been talking about spell danger, and we don't need to be handheld the entire way to the point. More exposition dump, yay! We learn about Valinor, which is an Earth-like planet. It has 3 continents, but only one is able to be inhabited on. It is rich with natural resources, and the climate is described to us as pretty boring and mild. They are apparently a peace-loving people, but the last time they allowed anyone onto their planet was when the massacre that killed Acacia and Bristow's parents happened. Acacia then asks Vika if she has any other thoughts or advice. Vika points out that they haven't really done anything to warrant attacking them yet. Like, they could be explorers or they might need help. Acacia decides to tell Galton to wait before attacking, but to put the guard on alert, and if they cross the border, they will destroy and take out the ship. Galton is not happy about this and is fairly skeptical about these people being friendly visitors. Galton also wants Acacia to hide in case these people end up being hostile. I shook my head. I'm done hiding. I understand why I had to growing up, but I'm no longer a child. I'm the Empress, and I will not go down without a fight. You've all trained me. I forgot about the Australian accent. Damn, not doing it. I'm not good at Australia. I shook my head. I'm done hiding. I understand why I had to growing up, but I'm no longer a child. I'm the Empress, and I will not go down without a fight. You've all trained me well. Have some faith now. My apologies, Empress. Galton's mouth twitched at the corners, and some semblance of a smile came to his lips. Asserting my independence and claiming my rightful place as Empress didn't come naturally to me, and Galton often challenged me in this regard. I can only assume that he was somewhat proud of me for refusing to be hidden away like a child or some fragile girl. I thought genders didn't matter. Why are we pointing out that she's a girl? Also, I am always so annoyed when royalty have no regard for the danger that they might be in and their own safety. She has no heirs. If she dies, what are they going to do? What does the line of succession even look like because she doesn't have any heirs? Would it follow down like a military chain of command, or are they like shit out of luck if she just passes away without having any offspring? This book doesn't really take a long time to think about the world building or the implications of the decisions that are written down. The author just wants to establish that these two women are boss babes who are hot or whatever. She also thinks about the fact that she has no heirs briefly, but she doesn't have any answers. You're the Empress. If you don't know, you should be the one setting that up. You should be the one picking who will take your place. Galton, if they attack and I die today, what will happen to Valinor? Your death is not an option, Empress. I knew he meant well, but I needed to know. Humor me. His expression grew serious. As you know, lineage is what controls that. You succeeded your father. Bristow succeeded his. But because you were both so young, I stayed on along with Vika until you were old enough. So to answer your question, Bristow would become emperor if you died. That's, of course, assuming someone is left on the planet after an attack. And if he wasn't around for some reason, we have no protocol for that particular situation. Well, maybe we need to create one and put it in place. I stole a glance at Bristow. His face was stoic. I knew he would fulfill his duties, but I also knew he'd hate it. Staring back at the spacecraft, one thing was abundantly clear. I could not die. Why are you only thinking about this now? The other leaders, including her parents, were murdered. They were assassinated. This is something that she should be thinking about. There's also a reason why she could be easily assassinated, even attacked from the outside or the inside, because people know that there is no heir. Not really. Bristow would have to do it pretty unwillingly, and there could be a power vacuum as a result of that. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
She thinks to herself, because yay exposition dumping, we love it, about the Earth being destroyed in the year 2507. The governments and the humans of that time left with the goal to preserve Earth and to stay away from it while Earth healed for about 300 years. Some stayed behind and tried to fix the damage done by humans. That's right, folks, this is just the plot of the 100, which, by the way, is a vastly superior book to this. Just saying. She also dumps on us that humans went to other planets to colonize them so they could live there. She very explicitly says the word colonize, which always gives me the ick. It mostly gives me the ick when these people see nothing wrong with it. I want to clarify, when the actual plot is about colonization, or there's a bigger point to be made about colonization, that doesn't give me the ick. The ick is when they refuse to see it as a bad thing. She then decides to go over the Space Alliance and the basics of space law. There were people who refused to be part of the Alliance, which is a bunch of, planets joined or they went rogue. She also goes over pirates who steal spacecrafts, they attack them, they invade planets, they steal things, and they force people into slavery. It's really interesting to see this from a POV that is so certain that the big government that she's a part of is the good guy, the one doing the right thing, and that anybody rebelling is one of the bad ones. I think that is such a weird perspective to have, and we don't see it a lot in fiction for a reason.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
She keeps flip-flopping back in her head about what she wants to do about this ship. Yes, we're still going. Oh my god. But she again tells us that they are a peace-loving people. She tells her lackeys to hail them over so that she can talk to them. But she then walks over to the window and sees this big blue glowing light in the trees because they were so busy talking to themselves that and lore dumping in their own brains that they didn't notice what was going on over by the ship. Acacia does the only intelligent thing one can do and run towards the light like a moth, after she already established that if she dies, there is really no one who can take over and or no one who wants to. Her brain cells do not work. Bristow takes off after her, and she says internally that she knew he already would. Good, you're purposely putting your friend in danger too. Wonderful. Hugging the shadows, I wove through the forest until I came to the clearing. A female around my age in a black protective suit stood there checking some kind of device in her hand. She was beautiful. Her hair was just as long as mine, but was dark, smooth, and straight, and framed her oval face perfectly. Her bright, golden eyes scanned her surroundings. She turned slowly, revealing an animal print tattoo that trailed from the back of her neck down her right shoulder and her arm all the way to her pinky finger. I took half a step toward her before common sense drew me up short. I had been hiding for a reason. I had no idea whether she was friend or foe. It was dangerous to go charging out there, even if the girl seemed to be alone. The stranger was facing me again. Her eyes landed near where I was hidden. Could she see me? She smirked and said, "She's a pirate. I'm going to give her a British Cockney accent because I said so. If you find that offensive, I'm sorry, but I'm doing it. I know someone is out there. Say me the aunt and I'll spare your life." I'm such a dick. We know that this is the love interest because she has been described the most physically out of anyone else except for Acacia so far. Acacia doesn't believe that she's telling the truth about sparing her life, so she hunkers down to continue to hide from her. But she isn't good at hiding though, because this woman is coming right toward her. Remembering how important it was that I not die, I couldn't take any chances. As soon as she was close enough, I struck. It is sad that you have to keep reminding yourself that you're important and that you shouldn't die. Perhaps if you had stopped and prepared for the inevitability of your death, you could do whatever dumb thing you wanted to do. They start fighting, punch, dodge, punch, dodge. They're trying to get each other, whatever. Someone gets hit by an elbow. Somebody gets hit in the stomach. It's not that important. Acacia finally slams her hand into the other woman's nose. And then they're launching at each other and they fall into a tangle of limbs. Ugh. The woman rolls away. They both jump to their feet. They continue fighting. It's a really boring, repetitive fight scene. I don't want to read it to you. I'm not going to. While they're doing the old-fashioned fisticuffs, Acacia decides to peek at the other woman's tattoos. "Who are you?" I demanded. No answer, though her eyes were wide with excitement, like she was enjoying this. My heart thudded roughly against my chest. "How did you get here?" Again, she didn't answer. Using her legs, she bucked up, throwing me onto my hands and knees. She kicked me down and sat on my back. "What do you want?" I asked, face to the ground. "Looking for you, Empress Sparks. I have to say, I'm surprised to have found you so easily." I froze. Even if your markings didn't give you away, I would still have known who you were. She pulled my hair up and examined the back of my neck where the two inverted V-shaped symbols, one under the other. Malu had worn the same mark, and so had every eldest child since. "I'm not afraid of you." "You should be." Yes, let's all have the same mark that proves who the Empress is. Let's make it so easy that we can murder her because we can identify her with our eyesight very quickly. This could have been fine if they had had some decoys like Queen Amidala in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, but she doesn't have any decoys. The book has said that everyone is worried about her getting hurt, but I don't believe that because no one has done anything to prevent her from getting hurt, especially not her. Acacia stabs the other woman in the leg and then gets on top of her and puts the knife to her throat. "Why are you doing this?" I pressed the blade against her throat, nearly breaking the skin. She hissed, "I do not have a choice." Looking into her eyes, I saw so much more than hate. "If you jump back to your ship, I'll let you live." Her eyes widened and the smirk on her face turned to a hard line. "You're stronger than I realize." Why am I going Australian? Jesus, you're stronger than I realized, but that decision makes you weak. Fury tore through me and I pressed down on the blade. You want me to kill you? You should kill me. Just then, Bristow charged into the clearing with his gun raised. I stood up and stuck my knife back in its scabbard. Get up, you're coming with us, and you, he said, directed at me. What the hell are you doing running off like that? I feel like just because one of your side characters points out that your main character is reckless and stupid doesn't make it any better, especially when this is not like a character development part of the plot. Again, if like this is where the character was being examined and then had to like correct some of her character flaws, I would not mind this. I wouldn't care about this. But I don't feel like there's that much development for either of the main characters at all. The other woman uses a device and disappears. I sank to the ground and gasped for air, terror taking the place of adrenaline that had dumped into my system. I'd been in fights before. Why was my body reacting this way? Was it her? No one had ever made me question myself or challenged me the way she just did. Who was she? And why did I want to see her again? I want her because there's something different about the way she punches. I'm so sick of insta-love. Oh. And you're like, oh, it's not insta-love yet. It will be. You wait. You wait. Chapter 2. By the way, these chapters feel like they're longer than anything I've ever read. I hate it. I hate it here. We are now in the other woman's head. Her name is Everleigh. She talks in her head about how jumping is always uncomfortable and she can't get used to it. Basically, she had like that teleporty device that jumped her back to her ship. Her crew is not happy that she's back without the Empress. I feel like this book was trying to go for how like Becky Chambers can make you feel about a space crew, but they don't ever achieve it. It's not as ever well written as a Becky Chambers book. Everleigh laments about not grabbing the Empress when she had the chance and is all like, what's wrong with me? We already know what's wrong with you. You caught the horny. Watch out. It's contagious. She goes to the med bay and she glues her wound shut and then she wraps it. The wound wasn't that deep and she suspects that that was on purpose. She doesn't have any evidence of this, and this is the first time they've ever met, so I don't know why she thinks this. Everleigh cannot figure out why Acacia would just like let her live, and I agree. I don't get it either. She goes back to the bridge and they start interrogating her. Hey boss, Briar said, tapping her long fingernails on the table. What is it? I asked without looking up. Anything else you want to tell us? About? What happened down there? Violet Ditto was our navigations expert, but she was by far the smartest person on our crew. She knew something about everything, and if she didn't, she would hack any computer to figure it out. Rolling my eyes, I said, nothing, Briar. That's bull, Huxley challenged. Going Irish now, jeez, whatever. I'm still doing it for the bit. I don't care. What's your problem? I challenged. No problem, just curious as to how a legendary warrior such as yourself didn't get the job done on the very first try. I mean, this might be a first. Are you trying to piss me off? I growled. He put up his hands and backed away, but kept a smirk on his face. Nope. Concentrate on your jobs. I spat. We already went over this when she first got on the ship, so this just feels unnecessary and repetitive. It just feels like a really lazy way to try and introduce the crew when we know that this author is just going to exposition dump on us in like a paragraph or two. She talks about all the weapons on the walls, and then she asks Briar if she wants to spar with her. They spar. Everleigh starts to get weird and gets like obsessed about how fast she disarms Briar because Briar is the same size as Acacia. She still can't figure out how Acacia won. Again, she caught the love bug. We all know why she supposedly lost. She goes and takes a shower where she can't stop thinking about how attractive that damn Empress is. After the sparring session, I went to my room and showered. Lying in bed, attempting to sleep, the Empress's face kept appearing in my mind's eye. I flipped over and buried my head in the pillow, which only made it worse. I had to be honest with myself. The Empress had a weapon I had never encountered before. She was beautiful. Yes, I'd encountered beautiful women before, but I had never been charged with kidnapping or killing them. But so what? Why did that matter? There were plenty of attractive people in the universe. Why had I let that affect me? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know anything about your character other than that you're a pirate and that you get a lady boner over blonde white women, particularly over being stabbed by them. The ship gets an incoming call from a guy named Caspar. He's the big bad of the book. The man who had destroyed my life appeared on screen. When I was a kid, Caspar Renier abducted my family along with almost 100 others from our home. He dumped us on a planet that was barely survivable. Then a couple years later, he took the kids from their parents, myself included, and raised us on his ship, training us to become the lethal warriors we were today. He gave us the ship and forced us to do things for him by threatening the lives of our families. Caspar was twice my age, with a full head of black spiked hair, his upper lip was perpetually curled up like he smelled something rotten, but that was how he always looked when he spoke. He hated the sight of me. I don't like being kept waiting, Everly. So you're telling me that this random man is kidnapping people and children, but the Alliance isn't doing anything about that? They're not interested in stopping that from happening? What is this Alliance even for? And if this was written today, 2025, I would kind of be like, all right, you know what? Because what's the UN doing about what the US is doing? Nothing. So I suppose it's accurate. I could let it slide, but I don't know. Caspar starts threatening Everlay, and it explains to all of us and Everlay again for some reason that he has all of their family members and can and will kill them. Like, we didn't just get 2 paragraphs spelling it out for us. I swear that I think some of these authors believe that we as readers are profoundly stupid. We learn that Everlay doesn't know why Caspar wants Acacia, but she is an underling, so why would she? Like, why would he tell her that? He also feels the need to explain concepts to her like she's an idiot because she can't remember them from one day to the next. Why would he trust her with that important of information? Actually, why would you trust anyone you're threatening or blackmailing with classified sensitive information? You wouldn't. They're unsure of where the Empress lives because they couldn't find the compound, but it doesn't matter because the Empress is on her way to Kypra for that Alliance meeting. They decide it will be easier to kidnap her there, and Everlay says that to us again instead. And like, yeah, obviously it would be easier to kidnap her there. She's not in a hidden location and she won't have as many guards and citizens to defend her. Obviously. While they're on their way, they play a CAD game, but we don't get to see any of that because why see actual team building and how they are with each other when we could just literally have everything explained and spoon-fed to us? Why show anything? I don't know. That's the story of this book, guys. They are now overhead of Kypra, which we learn was only discovered 100 years ago. Jesus. Oh, keep dropping stuff. There was a war at one point on Kypra that destroyed much of the land that was livable on it. Kypra is now neutral ground for planetary meetings and discussions. I think it's weird to destroy a good portion of a planet and then just decide that it's going to be neutral and build like a random office building where the world leaders can meet on it, but that's just me. You do you, I guess. I don't get it though. Briar hacks into the video feed of the conference room like that. Because nothing can go wrong for anyone in this book for very long, you will come to find out. Everyone is secretly good at everything. Their new plan is to wait until she's alone and grab her, but also it's an interplanetary conference where they probably brought some guards with them, and there's probably a bunch of guards all around also. She is the empress of an entire planet. Like, why wouldn't she be heavily guarded? And there are other world leaders here. Like, none of these characters come up with good plans at all. They're listening to the meeting, and there is a new member to the Alliance getting sworn in. Good for her, honestly. Everlay is bored about the meeting, and so am I. She perks up when the hot empress gets questioned. They are asking her to reconsider allowing the Alliance or the Authority. I can't remember one of them. They both have big A's. I don't know. I think it's the Authority. They want the Authority to be allowed to put a space station on Valinor, or like a guard station, some kind of station on Valinor. She says no because Valinor was discovered by a privately owned spacecraft. And what in the colonization nonsense is this?
You think you own whatever land you land on.
Everlay and her crew are admiring Acacia because they've never seen anyone tell the Authority no. And they're like, that must have taken a lot of guts. Yeah, I'm not really understanding the politics of this situation here. It's not like Valinor has like huge weapons capabilities, or like they're described also as a peace-loving people repeatedly. Couldn't the Authority just like do it anyway? Do whatever the hell they want? Like, what's stopping the Authority from just doing what they want? Yeah, couldn't they just like blow up the bunker that they live in and then place the station on Valinor, or just have her assassinated? because there's no one to replace her again. Like, problem solved. Everleigh is dying of boredom after this because she cannot focus on anything. Briar's like, hey, there's a break coming up, so like let's prepare for that so that Everleigh can try and grab Acacia again. This is kidnapping attempt number 2, Electric Boogaloo. She teleports into a closet and then thinks about how there are a few world leaders she would rather take instead, but Caspar wants Acacia, so Acacia it is. She then waxes poetic about how beautiful Acacia is. You have seen her twice and you are on a mission. Keep it in your pants. Acacia is an idiot and tells her guard to leave her while she uses the bathroom. The guard is not cool with this and protests, but he doesn't win in the end. After using the bathroom, she comes out and looks out the window and she tells her guard to go ahead to the conference room before her. Again, you have no plan for succession. The whole planet is in your hands, yet you are making stupid decisions that will affect everyone on your planet and the leadership of said planet. Make it make sense. Why does she not actually take her job seriously? Right as Acacia sees Everleigh, Everleigh is about to grab her also. There is an explosion, like a huge loud explosion that throws Everleigh backwards. Remember, we're in Everleigh's POV. Acacia tries to drag Everleigh out of the building to try and save her because now everything's probably on fire because of the explosion, obviously. Why she's helping her, I don't understand, because if someone tried to kidnap me twice, I would be leaving their ass in that burning building. But I'm built different. Everleigh is able to stand on her own after a second and notices that Acacia has blood in her hair, and she thinks that this looks sexy. Because even when she's in a traumatizing, cataclysmic event for the intergalactic government, she still has to think with her clit. Everleigh, after she thinks about how much she wants to smash, realizes that she has been injured. A piece of metal is sticking out of her side. Look, I understand that even though this is an erotica, we want to be horny for some reason. Really, really, really horny. This is not erotica. Like, how would you not prioritize being gravely injured? Like, if I had a giant piece of metal sticking out of me, I would not be thinking about how much I want to bang. My knees hurt sometimes, and I'm like, I don't want anyone to even look at me. Don't think about me. Everleigh asks Acacia who attacked and why, but Acacia obviously doesn't know either. Like, yeah, she showed up to a planet to plan for it to get bombed and almost potentially die, right? Acacia thinks that most of the people who were there are dead or are going to be very shortly. There are more explosions as they get to where the ships are. As they're looking out to them, like one after another after another after another is getting blown up. Luckily, Everleigh's ship is cloaked, so it hasn't been bombed directly. Everleigh uses her teleportation or jump device to get onto the ship, but they touched palms, so Everleigh gets goosebumps. Yay! Romance! Ooh. The ship has some damage, but it wasn't directly hit. There is something wrong with their FTL, which I'm assuming is like the really fast space travel, but it is never really overly explained except that they need it. They can still move normally though, so she tells them to get the hell out of here. She then collapses and Acacia asks if they have a doctor on board, and they don't because they're pirates. But they do have a med bay, so Acacia says close enough. She then decides she's going to patch up Everleigh, her kidnapper. Why? I don't get it. The laser wand she would use to like suture it is broken, but they do have old-fashioned stitches. So that's what she does. She does that without anesthesia. It doesn't really matter though because Everleigh can't handle the pain and she passes out anyway. I'm back. I needed a drink. You need to stay hydrated. It's hot today. Chapter 3. Acacia, we're back with her, and she has been put in a room that she is not allowed to leave, and the door will be locked. Acacia says, I wouldn't hurt Everleigh, I just saved her, but that is literally not why they're locking you in there, my guy. It's because they kidnapped you. Also, the guy who tells her that is also like, that doesn't even matter because we don't know you, so of course we won't trust you. Like, duh. Like, again, they are kidnapping you. Why would they let you roam around and do whatever you want? That doesn't make any sense. They want her to take a bedroom of some kind, but she would rather stay with Everleigh. No. I couldn't leave her. I should. I had heard what they said on the bridge. They were happy I was with her. She had been sent to capture me, and that should have me worried. But that wasn't the thought that was foremost in my mind. Why? Why isn't that the first thing you're thinking about? I know that a lot is going on for you, and you just survived a very traumatizing event, but they could be taking you to your death. You do not know where you were going or what they want you for. I do not understand characters like this who just decide to prioritize some character that they literally just met. You do not know her. Your only interactions with her have been her trying to kidnap you. What is wrong with you? Acacia stares at Everleigh while she's passed out to think about how hot she is. Everleigh then wakes up and is surprised that Acacia bothered to stitch her up. Samesies, I would not have helped any of you if you were fucking kidnapping me. Everleigh thanks Acacia, and Acacia says, you can thank me by bringing me home. I saved your life too, shouldn't we be even? She was right though, I wasn't giving in. I just needed some time to figure out how to get back home. I am the Empress. My people depend on me. Can I at least call and tell them I'm alive? Fine, but you cannot tell them where you are. And where am I? She held my eyes. The Nirvana. Can't her people just track where the transmission got sent from? I understand that they're in a spaceship and that it is moving, but you would think with advanced space travel that you would have better tracking technology. Why wouldn't they be able to track the signal? There's not a good explanation. It's not even like they're like, yeah, we're using a VPN. Like, what? We learn that the Nirvana is a ship that has a lot of people who are wanted by the authority. Again, they're pirates, obviously. Arg. This freaks Acacia out internally, but she is stoic and fine on the outside. You should rest. I didn't know why I was still concerned about her well-being, but I was. I don't get why you're concerned about it either, because the author has not given a single compelling reason as to why you would be. And no, attraction is not a compelling reason, especially not in high stakes like this. I don't care what anyone says. I cannot stand insta-love. Why? Why do you want to bang someone who kidnapped you? They go to the bridge where Acacia gets to meet 2 males and 1 female. Gross. I hate how it feels like gender essentialism a bit, but at the same time, I also thought gender and sex didn't matter. So why are we harping on it so much? They call Valinor to let them know that Acacia is not dead. Galton and Vika answer together. They are both there. She tells them that her ship, the Razor, was destroyed. One of her people, Dieter, who I'm assuming was the captain or whatever, he died in the bombing. Instead of telling them right away what is going on, which is what she should have done immediately, she asked them what happened at the summit. There was an attack from somewhere called Wappy, and they apparently like to go around and try breaking up alliances. Only 2 people survived the attack, and it's not entirely clear if they are counting her and Everleigh, but I don't think they are based on what I remember from later. They ask Acacia where she is and says that they will send someone to come get her. Everleigh interrupts them and says, hey, we're actually already taking Acacia home. Don't worry about it. Also, we know that she kidnapped her. I don't know why they're not having any kind of follow-up questions, but whatever. Then Bristow jumps into view and is very excited that she's unharmed and still alive, probably because he doesn't want to be emperor. She takes this time to tell him how beautiful it is up there in space, which seems weird. At least she actually does something with it, thank God. She then signals to him, because they have a weird language that they made up when they were kids, that she needs help, which is one of the only good things in this entire book, by the way. At the same time, the conversation feels stilted and weird, and she couldn't have been more obvious if she tried. I cannot believe they did not figure her out sooner. They say goodbye. Acacia decides she's going to play nice with the pirates, which it is a survival strategy. I just feel like there are different motives because of how many times the 2 main characters talk about how hot they find each other. They introduce themselves, and then Acacia asks the real hard-hitting question, why are you guys capturing me? Why is it you want me? I don't. I was confused for a minute, and then it hit me. Someone else does. Someone hired you. Yes. Who? Caspar Rainier. Another well-known criminal. Caspar was even on the most wanted list. Why would he want me? She didn't answer. Are you really going to take me home? I'd like to. It was a strange reply. I agree it is a strange reply, especially since she kidnapped you for a guy that we know kills people. The 2 men, Huxley and Zabe, are angry, who knows why. I'm sure the narrative will vomit it out at us quickly enough. I bet it will. She introduces herself to Huxley and Zabe because she's, again, trying to do this as a survival technique. Zabe stalks off angrily. Acacia then asks when they will reach Valinor. We just established that they're probably not taking her there, and that they kidnapped her for Caspar. Again, I fear that this book is a never-ending feedback loop that is designed specifically to torture me forever. They never stop repeating the same crap. They will have to stop and get the ship fixed at Gleddy Station. Briar starts talking to the AI and boo, we all hate AI in this house. Everleigh decides that this is a good opportunity to show Acacia to her room. I'm still having a difficult time imagining how big this ship is that they have an extra bedroom that they can just put prisoners in, but whatever. The attack, you didn't have anything to do with that, did you? We turned a corner and made our way down a long, narrow corridor. No, I am a thief. I steal things. I am not a murderer. There was a hesitation in her voice. Are you sure? Her lips tightened into a thin, grim line. I've only killed because my life was in danger, she said. So you're not a cold-blooded murderer, but you are a killer. Everleigh shot me a look that dared me to say more. I suppose you're right. Will you kill me? Very quietly she answered, no, not you. You threatened to. She was quiet for a moment, maybe trying to remember the conversation I was talking about. Yes, but I won't. The way she said it, with a tiny bit of tenderness, warmed my heart. A strange reaction, considering that she was my captor. Don't worry, guys. She's not going to kill Acacia because she's hot. Yay! Also, just because you admit that this is a strange reaction for you to have about your captor doesn't make it any better. Again, she has tried to kidnap you twice and that were your only interactions. I cannot believe you were empress of an entire planet. I jumped and turned in the direction of the voice. Everleigh stood there, dressed in tight black pants and a long-sleeve half shirt that showed off her belly button. All decency left me as I took in the sight of her. Every part of her was delicious, from her long neck to her supple boobs, to the bit of skin showing at her midriff. She wore 2 leg holsters. One held a gun and the other held a knife. Could I trust her word? Would she kill me if she were forced to do it? Everleigh closed the space between us. The air felt like it was on fire. My heart thumped in my chest. Licking my lips, I drew in a calming breath and let it out in a slow sigh.
Down! Get a hold of yourself!
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's gonna be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Yourself.
I've got to get out of here! Out of here! I gotta get out of here!
She, after this, takes a shower and finally has some time to think about how everyone died. This still feels weird to me because she's still in the middle of the traumatizing event for her. Like, it has not ended for Acacia. I have CPTSD and my brain just like dissociates and powers me through things like this. I get everyone is different, but it still feels so weird. Like, it also just feels weird because we're trying to set up Everleigh as not like other kidnappers. Like, kidnapping is traumatic. Acacia then goes to sleep. She wakes up and uses the bathroom again. Relatable. Everleigh is there when she's done, making Acacia jump. It doesn't matter though, because Everleigh is hot and Acacia can't stop thinking about her. She lingered in the door, watching me, almost like she didn't want to go. Truth be told, I didn't want her to. Her eyes moved rapidly over my body, lingering here and there. The way she looked at me, like I was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen, brought heat to my cheeks. A minute later, her expression changed, like she snapped back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. She gave me a curt nod and slipped out the door. I need you all to know that I am not lying, and I'm not just repeating myself over and over for funsies. The book is the one repeating itself. We cannot forget for even one single moment that these two characters find each other hot. Acacia asks Everleigh to call her Cassie because her friends call her that, which is fucking wild. She kidnapped you. You don't know anything about her. And again, if this was like a bid for survival, it would be fine, but it really truly isn't, and you will see it, okay? Everleigh is like, am I a friend? And Acacia is like, you saved me from dying on that planet. Girl, she's bringing you to die on another planet. Be so for real right now. Acacia thanks Everleigh for the extra clothes because the Stockholm Syndrome is starting to kick in early. They go to the kitchen to get something to eat. Acacia is quite excited because she gets to eat cereal and she hasn't been able to eat it for a while because they don't really get that on her planet very often. She also eats the cereal with milk, so we're going to pretend that it's some kind of shelf-stable milk on a spaceship because that makes the most sense to me. If I don't pretend, I'm going to lose my mind, but don't worry, we're about to get to a page where I lose my mind with a lot of questions about a certain food item that they happen to have. In between bites, I said breakfast at home would be fruit and breads. I haven't had cereal in a long time. She smiled again, but kept quiet. What do you like? I asked. It was awkward to have someone watch me slurp cereal. Small talk was too, but it was infinitely better than wondering if I had milk dribbling down my chin after every mouthful. Eggs. I like the way Huxley makes them. They are in space. Where do the eggs come from? How often do they refill on eggs? I understand that they stop on space stations and stuff like that to get supplies, but I cannot for the life of me figure out why you would have perishables on a spaceship, particularly when we know things can go wrong with the spaceships and you can be stranded out there. You would want more shelf-stable options. Again, what if you are stuck on the ship and you run out of food because you had to eat all the fresh stuff really fast? I don't get it. The supply stuff is also never explained. And I also have like a very serious question. When Earth was being destroyed and the governments fled with all those people, did they bring chickens? What planets are the chickens on? What do the chickens eat? Because there aren't plants from Earth that the chickens can be eating. Where are the eggs from? Driving me insane. Where are the eggs from? Cassia asks Everleigh if she's going to get a tour, and Everleigh is like, do you want one? And also, again, this could have been smart if she was using this specifically to try and figure out a way to get out of here, but she's not. That's not what this is about. Anyway, Cassia's like, I obviously want one. I don't get why Everleigh is like, yeah, I'll show you around. Yeah, I'll let you out of your room. She's a prisoner. You are delivering her to the space equivalent of a mafia boss. What is wrong with you? She showed me around the different rooms, mechanical lounge, weapons training, and then led me into a large observation room with windows so big and clear, it felt like I was actually outside rather than in a spacecraft. You've seen the bridge and kitchen, not much else but the crew's rooms. And yours, I said softly. I am in hell. I am an installa of hell where there is no escape. Tell my wife I love her. Where's your planet? I asked. I don't have one. Her fingers brushed against mine. Now that was intentional. I looked at her and found that she was staring at me. My stomach did a lazy flip like it had that first time I jumped from one place to another. The air grew thick as my gaze traveled down to her lips and back up to her eyes. I tangled my fingers in hers, wanting to pull her closer, but afraid to make the first move. Everleigh swallowed and her mouth opened then closed again as though she was holding back words she wanted to say. After a minute, she broke our gaze and stepped away, and the minuscule space she'd made between our bodies made me feel cold. I know that there are jokes to be made about U-hauling. I'm one of those people that makes those jokes sometimes. My wife and I are actually the ultimate lesbians because we moved in together like not that long before we got together. However, when it's in a book and they're trying to describe this like spark, like this immediate spark, but nothing more tangible like actual romance stuff, it drives me bonkers. Like my wife and I had been hanging out for months and months when she moved into the same dorm building, not even the same dorm room, the same dorm building as mine. We didn't just get together for no reason. God. You guys are getting the Shelby and Tess lore. Let me know if you ever wanted to say hi quick. She's so cute. Acacia is like, okay, what now? And Everleigh is like, I have to do my job. I work here. They go to the bridge and Acacia is trying to be agreeable to the other crew members and tells Huxley she wants him to make her eggs at some point. Huxley is appropriately confused, but is like, sure, why not? Zabe tells Everleigh that Acacia cannot just be out roaming around here and that she needs to be locked up. I agree. It's like no one takes being a pirate seriously anymore. Everleigh says Acacia saved her life, so no, she's not gonna get locked up. Zabe calls her on her BS and also says, hey, have you had way more injuries than you're letting on? At least I'm not the only one who knows that she's not being slick about this, that there's something obviously off about this entire situation. Acacia once again reiterates that she is not a threat, but that is not what the space criminals are worried about. Everleigh says enough during the fighting and Zabe storms off, kicking his chair across the room. Honestly, he's the only one committed to piracy, so I kind of like him. Briar sees Acacia thinking very loudly in the awkward silence and decides to be nice and ask if she's okay. The AI decides it's the perfect time to interrupt and tell them about the news from Kypra. There were apparently 2 ships that attacked. One has already been destroyed by the Authority, and the Authority is pursuing the other. This really overall isn't that important. by the way. Everlay asked the AI to research specifics, but Acacia, whose POV we're in, doesn't really pay attention to that. How is she the empress of an entire planet again? She can't even pay attention to one thing. Acacia wanders off and walks into the training room, and Everlay asks if she wants to spar because she fucking followed her like a labradoodle. Because even though she said she has to work, that was a lie. Clearly. Her only job now is to be horny on Paige. They spar with Claymore, like the swords. This is space. Why are we using swords when we have bombs and lasers? I don't get it. The only exception is the Locked Tomb, Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, Nona the Ninth, and hopefully soon Electo the Ninth. They have very specific reasons as to why they're swords. And there are still guns and bombs, by the way. But like, why the main characters use swords is very specific. This is not that. There is supposed to be sexual tension while they're sparring, and I'm not feeling it. I'm just not. Everlay ripped her stitches while they were sparring. What a bunch of dumbasses. Acacia fixes it for her, but is thirsty about it. She huffed and lay on her back as I searched for all the supplies I needed. Turning back to her, I swallowed hard as I pulled her shirt up just enough to examine the wound. My fingers grazed her skin and a gasp escaped her lips. The bandage was soaked with blood. I peeled it off carefully but quickly. Using some damp gauze, I cleaned the cut, sprayed a numbing spray, and then stitched her back up. A quick smear of ointment to aid in healing and keep it from getting infected went on before I applied a new bandage. Like, why was she so weird about the shirt being lifted up? It's a wound. It's not sexy. Aren't you tired of being horny? Aren't you tired of being weird? It has been a couple of Earth days and Acacia is trying to get everyone to like her. Why are we still counting with Earth days? None of you have ever been on Earth. It doesn't make sense that you would count with a planet that you've never been on. Like, wouldn't you just count with whatever planet you're on? Like, that your home planet is, or like, aren't there time zones? Aren't there space time zones? But why ask sci-fi questions? This book is barely sci-fi. Acacia is trying to see what they're looking at on the map, but they all are immediately suspicious of her because duh. She tries to steer away any suspicion by asking them like what planets they've been to before. Everlay joins the conversation with like Briar Huxley and Acacia here and there, but Zabe says nothing. He wants nothing to do with this. Caspar should promote this man, and again, Zabe is one of the only characters I find tolerable. Stop making me like men, even fictional ones. Proud misandrist. This is mostly a joke, but sometimes the men make me crazy. They decide to play a card game while Everlay makes a phone call. Acacia is the special and is able to beat everyone, including Zabe, who is apparently notoriously hard to beat because he's the goat like that. She asks how long they've all been a part of Everlay's crew. Huxley says that he joined up a couple of years ago, but he knew her longer than that, longer than he's been on the ship. And Briar and Zabe have been part of Everlay's crew since the beginning. Acacia asks about all of their tattoos, their crew tattoos. Ugh. She loses the plot and she asks them about Everlay because she is horny, probably. Who knows why. Chapter 4, Everlay is thinking about how Acacia makes the crew feel complete as she looks at her playing the card game. You just want to smash. Calm down. Huxley comes over and calls her out on it. I see the way you look at her, Ever. I shoot him a sideways glance. We can't keep her. I choked back a laugh. She's not a puppy, Hux. She most certainly is not, but you know what I mean. You have to finish the job. Tell me how, I demanded through my teeth. How do I just turn her over to that evil bastard? We've done it plenty of times. Not with her. My eyes burned with unshed tears. I have to find a way out of this. I've turned people over to this ruthless crime lord who definitely does terrible things to them, including murder, but she's different. And it has nothing to do with the tightness of my pants when I'm around her. She's special, guys. I just know it based on the couple of days she's been hanging out with us and feigning interest in us. After Acacia goes to bed, all 4 of the crew members meet on the bridge. I can't hand her over to Casper. The attack on Kypra bought us some time. Zia told us the authority hasn't confirmed how many were killed or released any names yet. I insinuated to Caspar that she could be one of them. I knew my crew was looking at me like I had lost my mind as I paced the bridge, muttering ideas. What if we just took off, went somewhere nobody could find us? So you're going to abduct the Empress, never return her, and we're all going to vanish into the great unknown? Zabe said. Sure. He arched an eyebrow. You're not thinking clearly. Why couldn't we? She might have a problem with that for one, and you really think Caspar is going to let us disappear? Huxley furrowed his brow. What if he takes it out on our families? Briar asked. Then we take him out. You want to kill him? Is she that important to you? You don't even know her, Zabe explained. We'll fix the FTL drive and vanish until we can come up with a plan to kill him. As long as Caspar doesn't know we have her, we have time. How long do you really think he's going to give us? He's already mad he doesn't have her yet. Briar was the voice of reason. It wouldn't take him long. Maybe a couple of days. That should be enough time to come up with a plan. Ever, you have to think about the big picture here. Huxley reached out to me. I put up my hand to stop him from saying anything more. Come up with more options then, I said. Then I left the bridge and retired to my quarters. I'm not sure why they're listening to her at all. She's the captain, but she doesn't do much except lurk around Acacia, being horny as all get out. Her crew members are actually thinking about the consequences of not delivering her, while she can't even answer why she wants to risk all of their family's lives. Make it make sense. I would throw her in the brig with Acacia and then drive them both to Caspar myself at this point. The next morning, Everlay is thinking about whether Acacia would even stay with them or not, but she's literally the empress of an entire planet. I'm sure she would want to, but does that really matter in the slightest? Instead of answering the intercom, she opened the door, still wearing the cami and shorts she slept in. My heart rate accelerated. Hi, what's up? She asked, smiling brightly. Her smile made me feel weird inside, tingly, warm. Eggs, I blurted, then cleared my throat. I just wanted to let you know the eggs are almost done if you want to have some. I'll just get changed. Do you want to come in, or I'll wait for you here? She nodded and the door closed. I paced back and forth while I waited for her. What was I doing? Was I really considering giving up my life for someone I didn't know? What if she didn't share my feelings? What if she laughed in my face when I told her everything? She should laugh in your face. This book could have been so good if Acacia had decided to use Everlay's attraction to her own benefit, but fell in love with her along the way anyway. There would have been way more intrigue and tension and betrayals, but instead we have to watch these two idiots fumble over each other like they are middle schoolers who just hit puberty. Acacia gets to have Huxley's eggs. She is trying to get everyone to call her by her name instead of by Empress, which again could be cool if she was actually strategically using their affection for her to get out of this. But she is barely actually even trying to. She's too busy looking into Everlay's gorgeous eyes to think about escaping. We'll be docking at the station in a couple of hours. Do you want to go out and explore while the ship gets fixed? Her brow furrowed. How do you do that? Aren't you like wanted? A smile stretched across my face. Money goes a long way. There are certain stations we can't go to. There are others that like a little extra money. Okay then, I'd love to go out with you. Her cheeks blushed something fierce. It was the cutest damn thing. To go exploring? I turned before she could see the blush in my own cheeks and cleared up our plates. Briar was grinning at me from across the room. Do I look okay? She asked innocently. It was a simple question, but one that required me to look at her again. Her only clothing was the protective suit she wore to the summit meeting, and that was a mess. She had been wearing my pants and t-shirt since. I can give you another shirt. Why is anyone entertaining this? The whole crew knows that they can't keep her. What is the goal here?
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
We interrupt this terrible flirting to bring you the news that the authority says Valinor contacting them claiming that the Empress has been abducted. The look on Acacia's face said it all. It's my fault. I sent Bristow a signal that I needed help when we talked. I didn't know what to think then. I was worried about what might happen to me. I'm sorry. I searched her eyes and read her body language. She was being genuine. There's nothing we can do about it now. Make sure our Gledy contact gets a bonus. Girl, no one was suspecting you. Why would you give up the game in one line? You already had gotten away with it. Nobody thought that you were to blame. Acacia says that she will make it right to them even though they're criminals and they shouldn't care that much about stuff added on their rap sheet. Everlay also believes that Acacia can just fix it, which is weird as fuck. You do not know her. Acacia throws on different clothes from Everlay, and Everlay is #breathless. Everleigh is also an edgelord and only wears black, apparently. If she was actually a cool space pirate, I wouldn't care about this, but she's barely a pirate. Also, black is my favorite color. We've established this, but they always try to do it to make these characters seem edgy. Doesn't work. Everleigh continues to be creepy by smelling Acacia's hair. I wish I was kidding. Everleigh thinks about kissing her captive, but we are saved by Briar announcing that they have docked at the station. Everyone except for Briar gets off the ship. This just feels inhumane. What is the point of having AI that can't protect the ship without you being on it? They tell the repair guy what is wrong, and he says it will take a few Earth hours. Zabe and Huxley get out of there as fast as they possibly can. Respect. Acacia asks Everleigh what she normally does, which is drink, shop, get a massage, get some kind of food. They do decide to walk around and get something to eat. Acacia says that she doesn't have any money, but Everleigh is obviously going to pay. I would hope so. I would hope that the kidnapper would pay.
Imagine.
You could cover and I'll get you back. You want to do that?
Of course. Why wouldn't I pay for my own kidnapping lunch?
Acacia is as excited as a kid in a candy shop because she hasn't been allowed off planet much. It's not noticeable at all, guys. Acacia then decides to tell Everleigh way too much information on this supposed first date. Don't you ever get to go to the stations? No, I've only been off Valinor a handful of times. Why? Hidden as a child. When I turned 16, they let me out of hiding and I took my place. They didn't let me leave the planet for another 2 years. Then they accompanied me for the next year. Now I finally get to go to the meetings myself. Always with a crew and a guard, never for long, she sighed. Bristow and I always dreamt of going exploring as kids, but when I grew up, I realized I couldn't go. I had to take care of my people and protect my planet. So just so we're clear, you hid until you were 16 years old, then you were forced to remain on planet for another 2 years, and not once during any of that time did anyone bother to figure out the line of succession. What were these people even doing in hiding, honestly? Why does she employ them? She should go back home and fire every single one of them because they didn't think about this. Acacia is staring at people like some white person from rural America going to New York City for the first time to stare at all the non-white people. She's doing that while they sit down and get their order taken by AI at the restaurant. Yay, more AI! Acacia has never been to a restaurant before, but she does have a chef. I think I'm still unclear on how many people live on Valinor and what the structure looks like. They don't have restaurants, not even one singular restaurant. Everleigh cuts to the chase and asks Acacia if Bristow is her boyfriend. We keep forgetting the kidnapping element of this story. They get some mixed drinks to start up a little party. If Acacia was a better written character, she would have used this moment on the space station when they are docked to escape and go back home to get away from them at least. But she's not a better written character. She's terrible, actually. But also, apparently, horny outweighs duty, which, even though she tries to remind us about the duty every 5 seconds, and then she reminds us about the horny every 5 seconds. They talk about whether Everleigh has ever gone to Earth, but she hasn't, and, they both would like to. They're both being really judgmental about how back in the day Earth thought it was the only inhabitable planet. To be fair, with the technology we have right now in 2025, which is about 500 years off from where the world ended, I'm pretty sure, we haven't found any other planets that are habitable. We've found plenty of other planets, but not any that are habitable. Also, we can't just teleport places like these people, and we don't have speed of light space travel like we always have in sci-fi. It would take 3 years to get from the Earth to Mars. And that's the planet that's closest to us. Judgmental bitches. They ask each other about movies very briefly, but they cannot stay on topic to save their lives. Am I the problem? Am I the only one who wants to talk about the locked tomb for 6 hours straight? But also, I don't get, maybe it's the autism. Everyone correct me if I'm wrong. Please get in the comments if I'm wrong. But when you're on a date and someone asks you a general question about a thing that most people like, right? Do you like movies? Almost everybody likes movies, I think. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Wouldn't you then follow up with what's your favorite movie? Or what genre of movie do you like? Or what's the movie you saw last and what did you think about it? Why would you just go back and forth onto other things immediately? I don't know why I'm even worried about it. I guess I am out of touch when it comes to regular dating. I bagged a baddie, and so I bagged a hot butch. What do I have to worry about? Whatever. And she loves me the way I am, thanks. Everleigh thinks about how Acacia's laugh is perfect. Why have character development when we could just have this? Just this. What was I thinking? We don't even need character development. This is great, guys. They're looking outside at the stores afterwards, and Acacia says that she's never had any sexy clothes before.
What an odd thing to say.
They decide to do a shopping montage, but that doesn't mean anything to me because they do not know each other. I think this is supposed to show bonding, but it's just showing how hot and bothered they are around one another. It's not showing me that they're getting more connected on any other kind of level at all. Acacia gets stuck in an outfit and Everleigh has to come rescue her. Hundreds of years in the future and we haven't come up with anything better than zippers, or at least made zippers unstuckable. What's the point? Everleigh is dumbstruck by Acacia's moon tattoos. I trailed my fingers down her back and she shuddered. It took everything in me not to lean in and kiss her. Our eyes meet in the mirror. Her blue eyes were wide with curiosity and bright with anticipation. She tilted her head to the side just enough to expose the long line of her neck, and that made my heart speed out of control. I closed the small space between us and let my lips touch her skin. Her breath hitched. She was so warm, so soft, and so perfect. My lips trailed soft kisses up to her ear. She trembled and let out a low moan. I circled her waist with one arm to keep her steady. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my body. Every inch of my skin warmed. I wouldn't care if they just decided to have some casual sex, if it was being set up to be casual, but it's not. And also Everleigh kidnapped her. What are we doing? Who thought this was a good idea? Not I. They're interrupted by a sales associate because they were making out in a frickin' changing stall, and they stopped by and were like, do you need anything? And they're the second best character in this book for that. I nodded and went back to my dressing room to get back into my clothes. I stood quietly for a moment just thinking about the kiss that we just shared. She was so beautiful and I felt different when I was with her, so alive. I wanted to hold her and keep her safe. I wanted to get to know who she was and make her happy. Why did it have to be her, the empress that Caspar wanted so badly? Why did I have to fall for her? You have known each other for days. Days! Stop this nonsense!
My God, pull yourself together!
Everleigh thinks about getting them a hotel room so they can get down and dirty, but then she sees one of Caspar's men and she tells Acacia to hide. This man is the third best character in the book, I wrote, but actually I take that back because he's one of the terrible people later. Whoopsie. Might be. Sorry, scripting me. Notice how none of the main characters are in the top 3, though. The man is named Lorcan, and he says he's surprised to see Everleigh there and tells us what happens when Caspar gets impatient, which is that people die. Yes, we know, big scary man is very scary. We got it, thank you. If he's so scary, why does he have to send people to remind everyone that he's scary, or have to tell them again that he's scary, and he has to have everyone and their grandpa be told over and over and over? Everleigh threatens him with a knife, but he tells her to put it away and whips out his gun. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Acacia is an idiot and she jumps out and she also threatens this man with a knife. He has a gun, but this surprises him apparently, and he just reminds Everleigh to deliver what Caspar wants before he storms off. Acacia wants to know what all that was about, but Everleigh gets mad that Acacia didn't stay hidden like she wanted her to. Stay hidden? Why didn't she just run away? That was like the perfect moment. I don't understand what Acacia's angle here is at all. She just wants to get laid. You can do that with someone who won't kidnap you but is kinky enough to reenact a kidnapping scenario with you. A simple things for saving your life would have been fine. You don't understand, I yelled. We need to get back to the Nirvana. I paged everyone else back to the ship. What is it? Zabe asked with a frown on his face when he reached the maintenance bay. Caspar's people are here. One saw us. I was so angry. Angry at myself for letting my guard down. Angry at Cassie for not staying hidden. Get her on the ship, I ordered and turned to Iago. Is she ready? Almost. Need another 20 minutes. I pushed money into his hand. Do it in 10. You got it. It is crazy to me that she only remembered that he can and will kill people because one of his henchmen was just roaming around and reminded her. If you weren't so busy being turned on, you could have stopped and thought about that for even 5 seconds. If I was Caspar, I would just unalive all of them except for Zabe at this point because they are utterly useless. You can't even threaten them properly because I don't remember. When they get on board, Acacia demands to know what is going on. Everleigh promises that they'll keep her safe and sends her back to her room. When she drops her off, at her room. I don't know why she walked her there, but whatever. Acacia stops and is clearly waiting for like a goodbye kiss, which is insane. Everleigh does not do that, thank God. Back on the bridge, Caspar calls the ship. I was beginning to think you were going to double cross me. Play it cool, don't give any indications you're having second thoughts. No, sir, we've had ship problems. Do you not think I know your FTL drive was fixed today, yet you are not on your way here? My heart came to a halting stop. How did he know that? Lorcan contacted me, said your ship was at the space station and there was a woman who looked like she should be wearing a crown with you. My heart fell through the floor. He had definitely recognized her. What are you going to do with her? I asked. I just need some information. So you're not going to kill her? No, I need her alive. And come on, Everleigh, you know better. I don't kill people. However, you do seem to need a reminder that the fate of your people rests in my hands. He turns then, and behind him was Archer, one of my cousins, gagged and tied up. One of Caspar's men stepped forward, raised his gun, and while I watched without so much as a flinch, put a bullet in his head. I wanted to scream, but couldn't. All I could do was watch as his body dropped to the ground, a bloody splatter where Archer was standing just a moment ago. This sight would haunt me forever, and I deserved that. Unshed tears burned my eyes, and I hated Caspar even more. You will turn over the Empress upon your arrival tomorrow. For every hour that you're late, I will kill another one. Number one, what does it look like? She looks like she's meant to wear a crown. Royalty are just people. It's not like she was dressed up super fancy. She was in Everleigh's clothes. Number two, his little villain monologue wasn't even impressive. But I have to give him some credit. He actually did exactly what he said he would do. He killed one of Everleigh's barely named cousins right on camera. Yay. After the call, Everleigh wants Caspar dead even more and asks Briar to figure out how he knows where they were going. He didn't until his lackey saw you, I'm pretty sure, right? It should have been made clearer. I don't know. Huxley follows Everleigh to her room to remind her that all of their families, not just Everleigh's family, are going to be murdered because of her. We get it, Everleigh. You don't care about your grubby cousins. I mean, ew, cousins, right? But the rest of them do not deserve to have their families murdered for you to get laid. Everleigh punches Huxley repeatedly until she cries, and he's fine with it and hugs her. He's too good for her. Briar announces that they're there. Everleigh has spent the whole night crying. She's been unable to figure a way out of this, so she's just been crying. Acacia is definitely Empress for her looks and nothing else, because she asks what's going on when they show up to escort her off the ship with a gun. It's almost like they kidnapped you and they're going to hand you over to the space mob. She's even more sheltered than the narrative asserts, clearly. Acacia starts trying to offer them money, which I cannot believe she did not try until now. Are you serious? Everleigh tries to tell Acacia to just let it go, but Acacia's like, are they going to kill me? Why would I let it go? Everleigh says that they just want to talk to her, and Acacia says one of the only smart things she said this entire time, which is that they could be lying about that. Fair enough. Acacia starts to freak the hell out and tells Everleigh she hates her. She should have hated her this whole time, but you know what? What do I know? What do I know? Acacia looks around to see if anyone on the crew is going to stick up for her, but they all don't want their fucking families to die, so no, they're not. Acacia also decides to punch Huxley because he cannot get a break. He's apparently very punchable looking. Acacia decides to try to fight, and it's about time, except that it's pretty stupid because there is nowhere to go because you're in space. It's either on their ship, on Caspar's ship, or you're in open space. There's nowhere to go. If she had slept with Everleigh and grabbed the teleporter and teleported somewhere else on the space station, she could have been back home by now. They have to tackle her and zip tie her. Everleigh says that she's sorry, but that doesn't work. Duh. Caspar and his guards take Acacia. About time, Everleigh. You're lucky. I was trying to decide who I was going to kill next. He looked at Acacia and then ordered, take her. The guard grabbed Acacia's arm and led her away. Nobody else gets hurt, I confirmed. Caspar sighed. They're safe for now. I'll contact you when I have another job for you, but Everleigh, when I do, don't make the same mistake. If I ever find out you are double-crossing me again, I'll kill all of your people and you. He pushed a button and the door hissed closed. Why not kill her now? Why not get someone who is more competent and compliant? What is the point of a threat if you have to relay it over and over? They clearly don't think you're going to go through with it. If you need some tips, I know some people. They're all fictional, but they're still better written than you, so you could take some threats from them. Okay. Everleigh goes back to her room after and cries for a long time. So do you only feel bad because she's hot because you've done this before very frequently. Chapter 5, Acacia didn't really think Everleigh would go through with it, which I guess was fair because she did not seem like she was going to do it because she wanted to do the horizontal mambo. Acacia knees one of the guards in the groin and then in the face. There is nowhere to go, so I don't know why she keeps doing this. She's just making them angry. He throws her up against a wall and she gets disoriented. Caspar yells at him because he needs her awake so that he can question her. The guard forces her to go down to the torture room, which apparently still smells coppery and deathy. Caspar greets her and also tells her not to bother screaming because it's his ship. Yeah. Acacia decides not to answer him because he'll have to keep her alive longer if she doesn't answer the questions. Girl, that may not be as fun as you are imagining. I need answers. He paced around me. Your father was a scientist. He was experimenting with splicing DNA. Did you know that? My father was into cutting-edge research and technology, but I knew nothing of splicing DNA. I wasn't even sure I knew what that meant. 21 years ago, the first splicers were born. Humans with strands of animal DNA to make them faster, stronger, better. They were bred to be guards and soldiers. 9 years later, your father was murdered and all the research vanished. I've been trying to recreate what your father did for a long time. I'm tired. I just want access to his work, his experiments. Give it to me and I'll let you go. I had no idea what he was talking about. If he knew I didn't know, would he let me go or kill me? Did it matter? I don't know anything about his research. He was quiet for a moment as he continued to pace around me. Maybe not. It could be that you don't know anything, or it could be that you do and don't want to tell me, or you might know something you don't realize you know. Maybe you know of a secret hiding place or someone he worked with that got away. I was 7? Well, nevertheless, we'll try to jog your memory. He looked at the 2 men who stood behind him. One was the guy from the space station. The other was the guy who walked me in here. Lorcan, let's start with you. It's now torture time.
It's terror time again.
I promise I'm not making fun of torture victims. I am making fun of this terrible writing and these terrible characters. If you were tortured, I'm so sorry. They hit her like a punching bag. Her teeth feel loose in her mouth, and her mouth is also full of blood. And she decides she's gonna spit the blood at him. Again, she is not Empress for her intellect. She tries to dissociate, which, fair. But then they decide to give her some alone time to think about it. She then curls into a ball and sobs before going to sleep, which is a totally fair reaction to this, honestly. She attempts to kick the wall and try to pull the chains, but she's unsuccessful. I know that she's going through a lot right now, and right now might not be the best time for helpful critiques, but she could have tried to escape on the space station. Instead of thinking about important things like surviving, she thinks about her kiss with Everleigh in the dressing room. At least she's mad about it, I guess, but why can't we focus on something other than being horny? This is not erotica. They come back, they beat her up again. Trigger warning for essay. There is no actual essay, but there is talk of it. One of them asks, like, do you really not, what if she really doesn't know? They think that she might have been trained to withstand torture, but I assure them that she has not, because she's an idiot. She's just an idiot. One of the henchmen wants to have some fun with her and grabs her behind, but Caspar says, no, get her some water so she doesn't die before we've tried everything. They leave her chained up there. It feels like right here is when this book didn't know what it wanted to be, and that's all I'll say for now. Chapter 6, we're still with Acacia, probably because torture is more interesting than reading about Everleigh crying. That is an effective form of torture in its own right, though. Acacia is pretending to be asleep or knocked out so that she can listen to what they're talking about. I'm telling you, she looks better than she did before. She was all cut up, bruised, and swollen, but her face looks almost flawless now. A voice said. I was rolled onto my back and someone's rough hands pushed my hair away from my face. Could it be? No. Maybe? Caspar was close. I could smell garlic on his breath. Garlic is delicious. Shush. My eyes popped open. I lunged forward, grabbing Caspar by the neck and squeezing. I kneed him in the gut and forced him onto his back. I pressed harder, and his face turned a deep shade of red. Someone pulled me off him. I caught a blow to the face and tasted blood. I waited for the next blow, but instead Caspar grabbed my face. Watch that wound. Let me know how it looks later. He wheezed. No water or food today. When they left, I pushed myself against the wall and closed my eyes, welcoming the darkness again. It was pretty obvious from the second that they mentioned the genetic stuff that her dad had probably done something to her. The author is quite heavy-handed about it. Acacia is being dragged somewhere else on the ship and she is put on a cold table. They run some kind of machine to test her for something. Caspar decides to explain his findings to her for some reason. There was a rumor that your father had finally perfected nanites to be used for healing, he said, almost in awe. As he examined my skin, it was said that someone close to him had been mortally injured and he had fixed them. It must have been you. You were hurt, almost dead, and your father must have injected you with the nanites. They heal you, not immediately, but quickly. I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing feels really gross to me. I'm just imagining tiny metal bugs running around in her body like tiny bed bugs. Caspar decides they need to change torture methods after taking a sample of her blood from her. He gives her a chance to tell him everything that he wants to know, but she doesn't know, and she also knows that he won't believe that she doesn't know. She's weak and exhausted at this point, and Caspar reminds her that she can still die even with the nanites. My mind wasn't clear enough to think about what he was saying. I didn't care. I wish they'd just kill me and get it over with. This just feels like torture porn to me. She didn't try to get away at any of the intelligent times to do so. So this doesn't feel earned. It almost feels like she's the one who put herself there. I just don't get what the fuck she was thinking. They shove her face into a basin of water and hold her under. They start doing like that water torture, holding her under, even though she tries to fight back. She's too weak to do any damage. They're doing it longer and longer, and she's trying to pep talk herself by focusing on the betrayal and hatred of Everleigh. Finally, some emotions I can get behind. Also, who am I to judge what you have to do to get yourself through this terrible situation? They stop for the day and then they tell Acacia that they are going to start cutting fingers and toes and or taking teeth if she doesn't cough up some information tomorrow. They then leave her chained to the wall again, and she goes to sleep and or passes out, either or both. Chapter 7, we are back with Everleigh, and she is waking up from a dream about Acacia falling and Everleigh being unable to catch her. Unfortunately, the reality is so much worse than her lackluster nightmare. I'm back. It is a different day. I'm wearing the same shirt. It's laundry day. If you judge me, you're homophobic. Moving on. It's eating Everleigh up inside that she turned Acacia over to Caspar, and she has decided that she's going to kill him to fix it. She says that she has been spending every waking moment trying to make sure that she has a plan for killing him, but it hasn't been that long, so I guess we'll see how bad the plan is. Huxley tells her that her plan will never work and that she's going to get all of them killed. Briar suggests saving Acacia and then coming back to kill Caspar later because it would be easier to just do the one thing and get out than to do both things at the same time. They can just use the cloaking on their ship, and then Everleigh can teleport with the jump device back and forth pretty easily. Then our man Zabe comes in and brings up an excellent point. We don't even know if she's alive. We don't. But Briar blurts out that she is because she hacked into Caspar's computer system and has been able to see surveillance footage proving that she is in fact alive. Briar also learned that Caspar is blackmailing Valinor for the research. He says that if they give him the research, he will return her unharmed, or at least not murdered. She won't be murdered. But I would just also like to take this opportunity to tell you all that everything goes too smoothly. Like, we run into a problem that could be like meaningful, and then one of the other characters already has just got it. It's done. It's over. Like, most of the actual important action in this book doesn't matter. Like, you don't always have intelligence on stuff because your friend is just a hacker. And also, this is the space mafia. He doesn't have anybody on full-time protecting his data like in the year 3500 or whatever it is. He doesn't. But we're not here for the plot. We are here for them to spend no longer than 3 chapters away from each other. Even though they don't know each other at all, and sometimes romance with distance can make the heart grow fonder. Example, the locked tomb. Those two haven't been in the same room in 2 out of the 3 books, and it's still so much more romantic than this, and it's in space, and it makes sense. I'm telling you all, when Electo comes out, I'm doing a 6-hour deep dive on YouTube on the whole series. I don't care. Briar says she has figured out like which of the rooms she could possibly be in, and when asked why, she's like, oh, because I like her. I do not believe that these people are pirates. It boggles my mind that they have been doing these things for so long. but now they've only decided it's not okay because Acacia is hot and Everleigh wants to do her. Like, they've just decided that Acacia is so much more special than everybody else that they've sent to their deaths. And it's interesting to see how they weigh other people's lives against each other. Don't worry, everyone on the crew tells Everleigh that they all like Acacia, they just didn't want their families to die, so that Everleigh can feel fine about this suicide mission. This is something we all need to be in agreement on. There's a good chance she'll hate us and our families will be killed. Most likely, he'll come after us. Are you kidding me? They all agree that this is fine, so they're all willing to sacrifice their families for this person they don't even know, just so that their captain can get laid. This doesn't make any sense. Also, it makes the stakes that there were, which forced them to give her up in the first place, completely moot, because they clearly are willing to just let their families die at the drop of a hat. If they didn't care about their families this much, why were they letting themselves be blackmailed by him? I do not get it. Everleigh goes to the weapons room to train, even though she hasn't been eating and she hasn't been sleeping. She should be prepping and relaxing because she hasn't been doing either of those things, and she's gonna make stupid decisions. Also, the people who have been doing the torture have been taking little nappies and going to sleep at night. Like, they're not tired. The people with guns aren't tired. She says that it has been 10 nights since they dropped Acacia off and that she hasn't slept for 10 nights. Given the fact that one of the longest times anyone has never been to sleep was Randy Gardiner, and he didn't sleep for 11 days and he had massive health complications including hallucinations, I very much doubt that she's been up for 10 whole days. And if she has been awake for 10 whole days, then she is in no condition to be doing this mission and she should send somebody else. Instead of doing any of the smart things I suggested, she goes to Acacia's room and looks around and, I don't know, sniffs the air, and she sees a ring that Acacia accidentally left. She then goes and puts an adrenaline patch on, which I think is not the move if you're having hallucinations, babe. She decides to go alone without Huxley, even though he was going to go with her, because she's decided it's too dangerous, but you're literally killing all of your family members, so like, what does he have to live for? You? No. You're literally making everyone on this ship an orphan. Stop it! Huxley gets mad when Everleigh jumps without him and she's like, get the med bay ready. Ugh. I'm like, this is so stupid. They all wish her luck, but they're clearly all really tired of her shit, and so am I, honestly. She teleports into a closet near the room she's gonna search. Acacia is in the second room she goes in. My heart stopped when I looked into the room. Bile rose in my throat and I forced it down. Acacia was there on the ground, chained like an animal, dripping wet. She looked up at me with feral eyes. This was my fault. Fury took over and I gripped my gun looking for someone to blame and kill for treating her like this. Nobody was in the room but her. Assessing the situation, I had to get her out of the chains and then I could jump with her. Whose fault is this? Let's go over the list. Number 1, Caspar, obviously. All of his henchmen that are helping doing the torture. Then Everleigh and her crew who facilitated the kidnapping. And then Acacia for not trying to escape when she was on the goddamn space station. That's the order of whose fault this is. I cannot stand characters who bust in like, who hurt you? You! You hurt her! What are you talking about? You were one of the characters that made this possible. Punch yourself in the face! One of the cronies is there to take Acacia's fingers, yay. Everleigh kicks him, he slams her into a wall. They are fighting until she stabs and kills him. It's very fast. She searches his pockets and he just so happens to have the keyring to Acacia's chains. And that's because everything in this book is just set dressing for these two to like try to have sex with each other. Like, there's no actual reason as to why any of this is actually happening. She takes Acacia and teleports back to, I think, like an escape pod or like a mini ship, something that it's not the regular ship, it's not the Nirvana, but Caspar has detected them because he has like anti-cloaking technology. It didn't matter that they were camouflaged, he could see them. They crash land on a small planet and miraculously don't die. I know we were all hoping that they would, but here we are. We of course cannot possibly be so lucky. Everleigh wakes up, she only has a small cut. Pretty unrealistic. What did she get knocked out from then? I don't get it. I don't get it here. She sees Acacia, she has like a nasty cut on her head, and she also looks like she's lost about like 20 pounds, which it's only been 10 days and all of these protagonists are skinny anyway, so like I can't imagine she could easily lose 10 pounds. 10 to 20 pounds, but like, if they say so. Acacia has another big wound on her side and she is not doing well. She's not doing hot, she's not conscious. They luckily landed on a planet that doesn't have any toxins in the air. That's very lucky that you landed on one of the only planets that has the oxygen. The luck is astounding. The radio isn't working because we're doing the only one bed trope, but instead it's the only one planet trope. Everleigh decides that since the ship isn't working, she's going to hit the self-destruct button so that Caspar thinks that they died upon impact. Why would a ship have one of those? What are the other useful situations that would be needed in? The Authority just lets people make exploding ships? That sounds like war crimes waiting to happen. Oh my god, why? Everleigh wakes up Acacia and Acacia is brimming with fury, which is fair enough, yeah. Finally, an understandable emotion from one of these people. I know I keep saying it, but they're so few and far between. Acacia is unable to walk, so Everleigh is going to carry her. This is editing Shelby. I lost some footage somewhere. She's trying to find water and like shelter. But Everleigh didn't plan to have anything to collect the water with anyway, so
I'm surrounded by idiots.
they're in the cave, Acacia is asleep, and they're waiting the storm out now. Chapter 8, Acacia is up. My head felt better, but my side was still bothering me. I knew I should rest, but I couldn't be near Everleigh. She betrayed me. She turned me over to that monster. I had to get away. I needed time. Time to think. Time to process. Time to figure out where to go from here. I could survive on my own. First of all, that's a lot of fragments of thoughts. But you know what? Hell yeah. Get away from that girl. Get away from that girl that you don't really even know who kissed you in that dressing room. Run. Get out of here. She's bad news. Everleigh catches her trying to leave and she points out to Acacia that she's hungry, dehydrated, and injured. Not to mention, they do not know what the terrain is like or even where they are. But none of you have thought any of this through at any point, so why should Acacia start now? Luckily for Acacia, her teachers taught her about survival. I still do not understand her planet or exactly what the role of the Empress looks like. She follows some animal tracks because she's trying to find water, but she loses her footing and she falls. She spends until nearly nighttime walking and trying to find water, but doesn't find any. She knows that she should make shelter, but with her head injury and the being dehydrated and hungry and all of that, she just lays on the ground and goes to sleep. When she gets back up, she struggles to get herself up, but she's like, I cannot die here because my people need me. Where was this energy when you were on the spaceship with Everleigh? Where was this energy when you were on the space station where you could have tried to escape? To motivate herself, she continues to think about Everleigh and how much she hates her and how she betrayed her. Whatever gets you going and whatever gets you through this, girly pop. I understand that this is a difficult situation for you. She's having some flashbacks about Caspar and I genuinely do feel really bad for her. I have CPTSD and it's pretty rough, so I feel for her. I do. It causes a panic attack, and even though her body is injured and she's really hurting, she runs anyway because she's having like very visual flashbacks and almost like hallucinations. She thinks she sees Bristow in one of these hallucinations and she thinks it's a hallucination at first, and when she goes up to him it is, and then she like freaks out and starts crying. Can't blame her. Her injuries are not healing and she is worried about an infection. She thinks about what Caspar said to her about the nanites, but also thinks he's full of shit because her wounds are not healing. She doesn't have a ton of time to think about all that though because she's like, crap, I need water. But she collapses and passes out. When she comes to, Everleigh is there giving her water because Everleigh doesn't know how to take no for an answer. Acacia thinks that this is another hallucination. I'm here. She said, I know you don't want me to be, but I am. I found some water not too far from here. Got a fire ready to go too. I'm going to get you there. She puts her arms under me and picked me up. Perfect. In her arms. I rested my head on her chest and listened to her heartbeat as she carried me away. Dying in her arms seemed like a good ending. I let my eyes close again. Girly pop, I understand. I understand that we're going through a lot right now. But are we mad at her? What are we missing here? Why are you flip-flopping back and forth? She betrayed you. She has spent more time betraying you and kidnapping you than she has talking to you. Everleigh has to wake Acacia up and she tells her that her head wound is looking a lot better, like suspiciously better, but that her wound on her side is still pretty bad. She says that there is something stuck inside the wound. It is another piece of metal. Didn't we already do this in chapter 2? Am I crazy? Everleigh sticks her fingers into Acacia's wound to pull it out, and that sounds painful and terrible. And it is. It's incredibly painful. Everleigh gets the piece of metal out of the wound, and then she cauterizes it using her hot knife. Acacia realizes that this is not a hallucination or death because a hallucination or death would not be this painful. I kind of wish that this stuff had been through Everleigh's POV because seeing Acacia like almost hallucinate or pass out every 5 seconds is not really fun. It's not fun. It's not a fun place to be in. Acacia wakes up, but she's not in pain anymore. I guess those nanites finally clocked in. She sees Everleigh and starts sobbing. Everleigh goes to comfort her, but Acacia turns away from her. Everleigh checks her wounds, but everything is like suspiciously healed. They're completely and utterly healed. Get me some of them nanites. Something is up with my joints. Ugh. Everleigh is freaked out by this, and honestly I would be too. Like, what are you, girl? Acacia does not tell Everleigh about the nanites. She doesn't speak to her at all, and Everleigh is like, fine, don't tell me. Then she's like, we need to get some more water. There's water not too far away from us. You can't just not talk to me. The hell I couldn't. I had no intentions of ever speaking to her again. This is my favorite part of the book, and I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic for one. It's the first time anybody is acting reasonably and is not being completely and utterly influenced by hormones. If the writing was not so poor, this potentially could have turned it around if she had been angrier for way longer and we had used this. Like, this isn't a standalone. There's 3, I think. Like, why couldn't we have dragged this out? There was potential in this book for several different plot lines, and she wasted all of them. They start walking towards the stream together, and Acacia sees some trees that look like trees that were on her home planet, and she's like, oh, my trees on my home planet have fruit. I'm gonna go see if they have fruit. All of the animosity and relatable feelings about Everleigh, though, get leached out of this scene. Everleigh put her hand on my shoulder. What are you doing? I hated the way my body betrayed me. I hated that I nearly leaned into her touch before I jerked my shoulder away instead. We just have to keep being reminded about the conflicting fifis, huh? If you thought you needed any part of your brain engaged to read this, you were wrong. You don't even need half a brain cell for this book. It spells everything out for you. The author will let you know every single thing she wants you to think, so you don't have to think or have any thoughts for yourself. She gets to the trees and she starts eating the fruit because there's no dead animals around. You know that there are things humans can eat that animals can't, and vice versa, right? Like, dogs can't eat onions or avocados or grapes, but people can eat those just fine. Like, it doesn't make it poisonous to every species. You don't even know what species are on this planet. Also, she continues to act like poisoning is immediate, and it's not necessarily. Like, think about arsenic for a second here, okay? She and Everleigh sit in silence, and then Everleigh makes another fire. Acacia drinks some more water. So many bodily functions things. Acacia thinks about going off on her own again, but now that she is in her right mind, she knows that it's not exactly safe, and she's still not doing well to get far away from Everleigh, even if she wanted to anyway. Before they sleep, they stare into each other's eyes, and Acacia gets upset because that kiss apparently meant nothing to her. Yay! More of the same BS. Acacia has another nightmare about Caspar, and Everleigh swoops in and comforts her and cuddles her and helps Acacia go back to sleep. Again, consent not needed. Chapter 9. We're back with Everleigh, and she thinks this truly inspired thing. Acacia was shaking and crying even after seeing her beaten on that video and how she was when I found her. I hadn't thought of the after effects. He trained you! You don't know what torture does? Did you think it was all sunshines and rainbows? What am I missing about these people? It seems like she knew the consequences just fine, but because she didn't have to sit there and think about it, because she didn't have to think about these people ever again, she didn't really care. And she didn't care because he had never done it to someone she had deemed worthy of her attention. Because they weren't hot and empress of a planet. Everleigh watches Acacia while she sleeps. When she gets up, she gathers more fruit and some herbs for their breath. You have never been on this planet. But she needs it just in case they make out, guys. Can't make out with stinky breath. She makes a bowl out of a fallen tree, but do you know how hard it is to carve things out of wood? No, of course you don't. But she uses the wooden bowl to bring water to Acacia. Acacia is awake and she's back to being mad mood. Everleigh tries to figure out how Acacia healed herself. They stay there for a few more nights so Acacia can recover, and Everleigh thinks to herself, Acacia is healing. That is not how trauma works, because we're not talking about her wounds that were already healed. It is going to take her a long time, and she may never be fully recovered from this and the things that happened to her. But why have a nuanced discussion about trauma when we can go back to being horny? Everleigh tries to comfort Acacia again when she's crying, but Acacia pushes her away. I don't know why these people cannot take a hint. Acacia tries to get away from Everleigh, but Everleigh just follows her because she's not acting right. I wouldn't be acting right either if you were near me. Acacia punches Everleigh in the face.
Hit me!
Everleigh says she could have stopped her, but she didn't because she wants Acacia to feel better, so she lets Acacia keep punching her.
Come on, hit me! And hit me again!
Acacia then breaks down crying, and after all the torture, I can't say that I blame her. Everleigh can't take a hint again and holds her anyway because what are boundaries? She let me hold her while she cried. I ran my fingers through her hair and hummed how I wished I could go back and change things. When she fell asleep, I carried her back to camp and lay next to her. I cherished every second because I never knew from one moment to the next she was going to let me near her again. During the night, she let me hold her. In the daytime, the anger returned. Touching was off limits. I started to stand and go to the other side of the fire where I could sleep. She roused and her hands searched for mine. I took it and she interlaced her fingers with mine. It was a simple gesture, one that made me warm and hopeful. You being there for the aftermath of the trauma that you helped cause directly because you helped kidnap her does not entitle you to anything. I hate that in these books the narrative requires you to forget about the people's personhood because the other person wants love and affection and physical touch from that person. It should not make you hopeful. You being with her after everything is like the bare minimum that you could do for her right now. She doesn't owe you anything, including feelings. You owe her compensation. Chapter 10. Don't worry guys, we're back in Acacia's POV and she wants nothing more than to kiss Everleigh. Then do it, you coward. This trauma is no more than a farce created by the author in order to justify keeping them apart and keep them from having sex for the rest of the book. The trauma isn't written in a meaningful or poignant way, even though it could have been, and it had kind of the crumbs of it. It was just an attempt to create more tension between them. There is a storm, they need to take cover because it's lightning and hail. Acacia is still refusing to talk to Everleigh. Honestly, iconic behavior. Too bad it's not backed by anything of substance. They finally are moving on from where they have been staying. Everleigh makes some spears in case they run into anything. Acacia has apparently never used a spear despite being trained on multiple weapons and knowing kendo. I'm not judging, but I am. Everleigh is also trying to start to trap animals because they're running out of food and fruit. They walk for about a day where they find a lake and they stay around the lake for the night. They set some traps and they set up camp. Acacia gets to see Everleigh totally naked because Everleigh's like, I need to wash myself because I'm disgusting. Again, they both probably smell nasty. But Everleigh is so hot, guys. Is it hot in here? Acacia decides she's going to wash herself too, even though she's cold because the water is cold. Acacia goes like under the water to wash her hair and it sets her off having a panic attack because they tried to drown her. I honestly don't know what she was thinking, but she wasn't thinking about anything except for Everleigh being naked. I'm not making fun of people who have trauma. Again, I have PTSD. I used to have a ton more panic attacks than I do now, and nightmares and a whole flashbacks, a whole lot of stuff, but I'm making fun of this god-awful writing, and these characters are terrible. Everleigh helps her with some breathing exercises. I finally broke the silence. I hate you. I know. My lip trembled and I lifted my hand to cup her cheek. I saw her lips with mine. The warmth of them sent a jolt to my heart. Tears flowed freely, and I could taste the salt as it blended with the kiss. One of her hands was in my hair, while the other was on the small of my back holding me up. My left hand wrapped around her waist. We fit together seamlessly, like we were made to hold each other. Are you kidding me? I wish you two hated each other. You wish you had even one singular ounce, not even an ounce, a gram of what Catradora had. God, I miss Catradora. They caught something in the trap and they cook it and eat it. Everleigh braids Acacia's hair without permission because, again, what is consent? What are boundaries? What is respecting people's wishes? Acacia clearly doesn't seem to mind too much though because she braids Everleigh's hair afterward. They hold each other and they go to sleep. In the daytime, Acacia is finally verbalizing her anger. Instead of telling her, I think she should start stabbing her. Actions speak louder than words. Everleigh finally fesses up and tells Acacia the reason why she kidnapped her, like the fact that Caspar has her family held hostage. She also says that she's been trying to figure out a way to kill him, but that she didn't have time to do both things. She confesses about that cousin she clearly didn't care about, that was only barely mentioned by name, was murdered on camera as like punishment. Acacia decides to tell Everleigh what they did to her for torture and then tells her she hates her again. They don't talk for a while after that. The words tumbled out of her mouth, surprising me. It wasn't personal. Tears stung my eyes and I sucked in a shuddering breath. It was to me. There was a whimper in my voice I prayed she couldn't hear. I felt broken and beaten. I was broken and beaten. I didn't want to betray you. It pained me to do so, but I did what needed to be done. I get it. I do. I took a couple steps backward. You are right to be angry. She stepped closer, eliminating the space between us. I don't know how to apologize for what I've done. I don't know how to make make it right. I know I did the wrong thing and I feel horrible for it. I don't know how to make up for it. I don't know how to apologize for the biggest mistake of my life. Saying I'm sorry doesn't seem like enough for the hurt I caused you. Even in my anger, I found some measure of comfort in being physically close to her. I can't just forgive you in a day. My feelings aren't like that. Healing is a process. I will say that I don't hate you as much today as I did yesterday. My throat felt tight and my eyes stung with tears I refused to let fall. I would sacrifice myself for you. She said, I know. And I did know. I knew she was telling me the truth. She would have turned herself over. She would have been tortured. She would have killed herself for me. But it wasn't her life that was threatened. It had been the lives of those she loved. I knew this, but it settled in even more, and I understood. The anger had been the only thing holding me together, and now it was slipping away. You have a knife. Do you think I should die for my betrayal? She asked. I sucked in a staggering breath. My heart clenched inside my chest so hard I put my hand to it. No, I don't. We were going in the right direction, and Everlay ruined it. This feels so manipulative. It feels like she's being manipulative to get her to trust her again so that she will bang her. I hate it here. Acacia has yet another panic attack and Everlay comforts her. Don't you guys love that panic attacks are being used as a vessel for intimacy? Isn't it great? Chapter 11, we're in Everlay's POV. See me looking over, I'm looking at my notes. They're out of the forest and they're now in a grassy area and they're headed towards an area that looks really desert-y. Without supplies, this seems really stupid. Acacia hasn't talked to Everlay in 2 days and Everlay's having an internal boo-hoo about it. They're now completely out of supplies and they are going through the desert anyway. I have no idea why they would do this, why they wouldn't try to like find a different way to go where the food is. They're tired, they're hungry, they're climbing through the rocky area of the desert where, you know, all the leopard geckos live. Acacia gets slightly injured on a rock and Acacia finally tells her about the nanites and that she didn't know that they were there. Acacia asks her if it makes her a freak and Everlay's like, no. I don't know why Acacia isn't allowed to think the healing fast thing is cool. I would be so excited to have that power. They then make it to an icy, snowy area. Again, this just keeps going faster and faster. Where's the character development? Everlay lets out a scream of frustration, which fair. Acacia is the one to calm her down this time. They talk about whether they should try to cross it, but they don't have any warm clothes or anything for a fire and they don't know how far the winter area goes on. You should have thought about that before rescuing me. You should have let me die there. Spinning toward her, I said our plan was a damn good one. The only way he could have known where the Artemis was is if he had the technology that can detect cloaked ships. Not many people have that. I don't know if I can make it. Maybe you should go find help. I'm not leaving you. Your plan was not a good one. He is in the space mafia. Of course he has this rare technology that you made your entire plan banking on him not having. How have you been trained by him but you don't know anything about what he has weapons wise? Like, you guys have hated him this whole time but you haven't like done any reconnaissance to try and dig up dirt on him? Nothing? Why are you all so useless? They make camp for the night and they talk about what they like dream about, including like exploring the universe and a big plate of food and all the water we could drink and a nice soft bed, Acacia said, and someone to fill it. Why are you hitting on her after all of this? Are you for real? Also, not that far down, there's something that says Viking warrior virtues. Why do they care about Vikings in the year 3500? Why? Why is that what survived history? Kendo and Viking. Everlay thinks that there has to be a settlement somewhere on planet, so they're going to keep going until they find it. They've decided to go through the area like a couple of idiots. I'm from New Hampshire and I can tell you that this author does not know anything about snowy climates. You need equipment or you will die in a couple of hours. Maybe not even, depending on the weather. There is an avalanche which in real life would just kill them. Let's keep it 1,000. But they get out of it with little problem. Again, crazy. Like the snow actually fell over them. I'm not kidding. Because there's nothing they can't do together. In the distance they see more trees and my first thought was that they walked around the entire planet, and that's like, how small is this planet? Acacia is getting hypothermic and she's very tired, so Everlay kisses her. It's the power of love, guys. The power of loving someone you barely know. Once they're at the trees, Everlay makes another fire and grabs some nuts that she found. Also, if this is like a forest with like nuts and berries and other stuff right next to the literal Arctic, it makes no goddamn sense. Have you ever seen the forests in Canada when it's cold? Why am I arguing with people? Everleigh asks Acacia to tell her something interesting. It is not interesting. You would just call me privileged. I spent my childhood with parents who loved me. When they died, it fell to the council to raise me, teach me, and train me. Then when I was old enough, I took over. I hate to break it to you, you are privileged, my guy. Being an empress of an entire planet is a privilege. Being called privileged is not an insult, it is an observation. It's a fact. Acacia talks about how her parents weren't really who she thought they were. She talks about how her dad loves science. We already know about that. Everleigh recognizes his company though, which is called Day Stellar Research Incorporated, which was responsible for every bad thing that has ever happened to her. There are experiments that are kind of alluded to, but Everleigh just takes off running. Everleigh finds like an animal in a trap though, and she brings it back, and Acacia asks about Everleigh's parents. Everleigh doesn't have much to say about them because she was taken away from them when she was pretty young by Caspar. She can't even remember what they looked like. She was that young, you know? Which explains why she doesn't care that much about them. Chapter 12, they wake up spooning and see an animal being cute. It's not important. They are tired and hungry, and Acacia is thinking to herself that her heart is softening. I don't think you were that committed to keeping it hardened in the first place. I wish you would harden it right back up. They go through a meadow that has small hills and a lake. There are bugs out that start to sting them. They sound more like mosquitoes to me than any other thing. They take cover by getting under the water because it's a huge cloud of bugs. Everleigh promises Acacia she won't let anything happen to her, but that they need to hold on to each other and duck under the water. Acacia starts having a flashback and she starts to like thrash, but Everleigh keeps her down. She's going to run out of oxygen way faster if they keep doing this, but what do I know? I was going to die underwater, drowning on some crazy planet with the girl I wanted to spend forever with, the girl who had betrayed me. Yes, we remember. We were there. We've been here the whole time. Do you remember? Everleigh confronts her and makes sure she's okay before they set up camp yet again. Acacia goes to find herbs for their bug bites / injuries while Everleigh's cooking, which again, they have never been to this planet. They could die of poison or unknown allergies. The storm has finally rolled in and they decide to follow a little animal who apparently likes them for some reason, and they hide between some boulders from the storm.
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
This seems like terrible cover from a storm though. I don't know what I'm picturing, but they walk with their new friend for the next 2 nights in the woods. When is the nature trip going to end? I signed up for space. Also, I hate the outdoors. I just hate it. Hate it. That's what happens when your family forces you to go camping against your will from an early age. Acacia names the little animal Nero. When they get to the water, 2 big gray animals start attacking Acacia. They don't have the spears like right on them, and Acacia stabs one of them with like a knife. While she's doing that, Everleigh is shooting the second one repeatedly. They look very similar to humans down to the teeth, but they're like hairy, I think. Everleigh gets bitten and has like a huge gash in her leg from it, and Acacia has to kill the thing by stabbing it to death. My eyes meet hers. You'll be fine. You don't know that. It's just a bite. What if it makes me turn into one of them? You mean like a vampire or zombie? They know about vampires and zombies. It's 1,000 years after Earth. Whatever. Yeah, she was being completely serious. That stuff's not real. Those are just things people used to write books about. Stories had to have come from somewhere. Ever, you're not going to turn into one of these things. Hi, it's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. This is all BookBub's fault. If BookBub wants to make it up to me, they can sponsor me. Now back to our scheduled programming. They wrap up Everleigh's wound and Acacia goes to look for some herbs that will help. We finally learn that her schooling taught her about plants, herbs, and healing, not just from Valinor, but for other planets. I just feel like this is too convenient, and it's also come up quite late. Also, I don't understand why they would do the off-planet stuff. They almost never let her off-planet. She makes Everleigh eat one of the herbs and then makes a paste with some of them and smears it all over the bite. They're going to try to rest overnight and then try to start going again in the morning. They move a bit away because the animals' dead bodies are there. They then hit on each other a little.
You disgust me!
Everleigh admits that she's a splicer and that Acacia's dad wasn't just dabbling in nanites, but that he was making genetic offshoots. They put predator DNA in the splicers. She's 2nd generation splicer, and they were then kidnapped with their parents because Caspar wants to replicate the studies. She's not anything special, so I don't even know why he would want to do that, personally. She's spliced with a jaguar. We're in hell. They start making out and then they decide to cuddle for the night. The next morning, Everleigh looks really bad. Everleigh makes her promise again that if she starts to turn into one of those things, that Acacia will kill her. Acacia promises that she will. Acacia decides to go try to get something else that will help Everleigh, even though Everleigh doesn't want her to go. Chapter 13. Acacia has realized that that creature had venom and that the venom is killing Everleigh. Finally, something venomous on this planet. It only took a ridiculous number of chapters and incidents. Nier comes with her as she's trying to figure out what plant might work. It's venom. You need anti-venom, my guy, which would take like years to develop. What? Another storm is coming in because that's all it does here, and that's the only way this author knows how to make stakes. Hero shows her a glowing fungus and she decides to listen to him even though she describes it as ridiculous. In the woods, she sees 4 more of those animals hunting down another animal. She decides that it's better to climb up into a tree and hide until they are done. Finally, a smart decision. She waits until they're done eating the thing and they go away just in case. Everleigh looks even worse when she gets back, and she forces her to eat the fungus and then forces it down with like water. She also makes a paste with it and covers the wound with it. As Acacia worries herself over Everleigh's dying body, this happens. Don't die, I forgive you. I wanted to hate you, but instead I fell in love with you, so please don't die. You don't have to forgive anyone. The concept of forgiveness is something that is forced upon victims all of the time. And as someone filled to the brim with resentment towards the people who abused me, you do not have to forgive anyone. Not everyone's journey has to look the same. The next morning, Everleigh has made it, because of course she did. Everleigh is shocked that Acacia wouldn't just leave her to die. I don't know why she's surprised anymore because they've been kissing. The chapter ends with them kissing again and moaning a little ew. Chapter 14. We're with Everleigh, and while the venom isn't a problem anymore, the leg injury isn't helping anything, and she still feels weak, so they're going to stay there another night. During the day, Acacia did all the things that I had done since we crashed here. She was just as capable as I was of surviving. I had jumped into being the leader because she was royalty and I didn't think she knew what to do. Boy, had I been stupid. It is perfectly reasonable to think that the Empress of a planet would know how to survive in the wilderness and do basic survival things. I think that this would have been a more compelling story if these two weren't like the best at everything they ever tried ever. It is more interesting to watch two people struggle to survive than this. This is why Jackie is my favorite character from Yellow Jackets. She does not adjust to being in the wilderness at all. They look at the clouds and they talk about themselves more. I wish we could have been doing this instead of jumping into feelings instead. Insta-love is a curse that we will never be free from. Everleigh tells her about the planet she's been to, but she hasn't ever been able to stay on any of them long because of Caspar. Acacia then realizes that Everleigh's family is most likely dead and she's horrified. You rescued me. You went against him. Her blue eyes bore into mine. Your family, probably dead. She closed her eyes and when she opened them again, they were wet. Why? Why did you come for me? All the feelings that I felt for her came rushing at me because ... because you're you. Even the author can't rationalize this. We are supposed to believe that there is something other than sexual attraction here that would make her forsake her entire family and the families of her entire crew, but there is nothing here. Acacia asks what will happen when they leave the planet, and Everleigh says, well, they'll probably try to kill her, and that she thinks that they've probably already killed her entire family and her crew's families. Acacia is like, we have to kill Caspar first, but Everleigh is like, there's no we. Acacia disagrees. I say, let the girl who was tortured by him have a few swings at him personally. They kiss, and Everleigh thinks how safe and loved Acacia makes her feel, and that she'd never felt that before. Girl, bye. They kiss for a long time again, and then Acacia asserts again that she will be helping kill Caspar. Everleigh says there's nothing to do about it right now because they're stuck on this planet. Everleigh thinks to herself that she's done being his slave. They cuddle up in the evening because that's all they ever do, and Acacia asks where Everleigh got the scar on her jaw. She tells Acacia that Caspar did it because he wanted to make her not beautiful, and she would fear him, and then he would like make her think that she belonged to him. He also chipped off part of her earlobe. She says that since he had them for so long, he thought that they would be loyal to him. I'm not sure why they aren't loyal to him, except that he's just written terribly as a villain overall, just like all the other characters. I just finished reading The Final Strife by Sara El Arifi, and I think, number one, first of all, 5 stars, but also I think it does caretakers who are evil but also still complicated so well. It's so different to read amazing books when I read these ones also. Acacia says having a scar doesn't make you ugly and it doesn't make you belong to someone. Yeah, duh. Also, sometimes things can just be ugly. I'm so sick of the whole that your scars make you beautiful trope. I understand what authors are trying to do, but it really truly doesn't work most of the time. We learned that Briar pretended to be loyal to Caspar early on, which seems like a smart plan, but Huxley and Zabe were actually loyal to him at first, but it changed pretty quickly. Glad to see no one had to actually wrestle with their morals at all. Why have any character development on or off page? Everleigh asked what Acacia's job was like as Empress, but don't worry, she wasn't like other Empresses. She wasn't pampered and she wanted her freedom, so she's not like those other Empresses that have big parties and are girly. She does cry about her crown, which got lost on Kypra and it had been passed down through the generations. She tells her about Bristow and her people, how they're peaceful and don't trade with money. Acacia tells Everleigh not to look at her cynically because it's just how her people work. She then starts to worry because the administration, which is the third giant A we've seen, wants her planet for resources, and if they think she's dead, they could attack. Acacia asks Everleigh what she's doing when she's not kidnapping Empresses. The conversation then immediately goes on to, have you ever been in love? And she says no. But Acacia wants to know all about her relationships. Everleigh has only ever had one night stands, but don't worry, Acacia is going to change all of that. Letting out a long breath, I confirmed what she had already assumed. I can't love someone when he owns me. Tomorrow isn't promised, she said. You have to live life to the fullest without hesitation. Everleigh is actually making sense here, but Acacia has to say her stupid motto instead of being understanding and empathetic. Acacia has another nightmare. She doesn't want to talk about it. Who wants to bet money? It's about losing Everleigh. Everleigh gets up and she says she will be slow, and Acacia says, do you need to stay longer? Do we need to stay longer? Everleigh daydreams about them building a house there and them just being together, but decides they need to go because that's just a fantasy. Later, Acacia asks Everleigh about her jaguar tattoo. It seems pretty obvious to me. Acacia asks if all of her crew are jaguars, and Everleigh tells her that she'll have to ask them themselves because it's not fair to them. Acacia respects this. It's nice to see that you respect some people's privacy, at least, I guess. They think that they see a city in the distance. Everleigh asks if they can just stay out one more night, and Acacia is excited about that. They decide to ask each other about their hobbies, but they don't have a lot of free time. This is the most lazy and annoying way for us to be learning about these characters and for them to learn about each other. God, I wish I could go back to reading a good book. The final strike was so good, I miss it. It's nice, they're kissing, their lips crash together, curves are beckoning, there's a surge of fire, but they don't go further because Everleigh doesn't want to do it in the middle of nowhere with a messed up leg. Selfish much? It's the next morning and they don't want to get up, but they do. They see in the field they're starting to cross that there are pieces of bodies scattered everywhere. They are pieces of those like beast human-like creatures that have been attacking, and they think that it's a minefield. They decide to skip some rocks and set some of them off so that they can be safe when they walk. I don't think that's how that would work, but what do I know? For what seemed like the entire day, we carefully picked our way through the field, trying to set off any bombs. 3 went off before we reached the city limits. This is anticlimactic as fuck. We could have had high tension scene, but instead we can't experience it because the author has deemed it unimportant. This paragraph encapsulates what I find so wrong with this book. It's just telling, not showing. Not to mention, the author does not seem to know how to prioritize what parts of the story that could have served actual development and that would be infinitely more interesting for the reader. Chapter 15, we're with Acacia and the city is surrounded by water. This is taking so long. I'm gonna put my laptop in my lap and we're gonna be reading this. All right? You don't like it? Too bad. It's my video. There aren't any tall buildings or skyscrapers, which leads me to wonder what Acacia's planet was actually like. They're not sure if they're trying to keep people out, but Acacia says that there must be a way in and out because the fields are for farming. Nero comes to the rescue again and shows them a tunnel that is partially underwater. She was so adorable, nibbling nervously on her lower lip. She was so badass, and yet she had a phobia. I wanted to wrap my arms around her and protect her from whatever it was she was afraid of.
In the fuck knuckles is this?
The betrayal ran deep and I was still healing. Would I ever be able to trust her enough to have a relationship with her? Would she want to stay on Valinor with me? Oh my god, you keep flip-flopping in a natural way. Shut the hell up. If you don't trust her at all, stop kissing her. You're a weirdo for this. And a relationship with her? You two need to never see each other ever again. You should be legally mandated to stay a certain distance away from one another. Everleigh keeps trying to get Acacia to talk about her feelings and whether she wants to keep Nero, but it's also annoying and I want this to end. They hear something coming and it's the Fuzz who tell them to drop their weapons. They ask who they are and Acacia announces herself and all her titles, and when he asks who Everleigh is, Acacia is just like, she's with me. She asks if she can use a communication device so they can get home. They're forced to follow them out of the tunnel and the buildings are made of different colored stones. Riveting. They go into a building and they ask for everything on their bodies so that they can't attack them. They also confiscate Nero but tell them that they will keep him alive. The leader of the planet Tyrande that they're on introduces herself and apologizes for being rude. Her name is Melly. They seem a bit annoyed about them having going over the minefield, and now they'll have to plant some more to protect them from the beasts that are called Grimelings. Not going to lie, I don't hate that name. Melly asks how they crashed and they say that they don't know. Acacia lies and tells Melly that Everleigh is her bodyguard. Melly leaves for a moment to verify their story and Acacia and Everleigh both think that something isn't right. They promise not to tell each other's weird DNA and nanite secrets. Melly comes back and says that they have verified their identities but will wait until they are paid to release them. They are mad about being ransomed, but she explains that they are not doing well on their planet, so can you really judge her? Melly knows that they are both wanted by Caspar, but that Everleigh is also wanted by the authority, so she's going to sell them to the highest bidder, whether that's like Valinor for Acacia or Caspar, or the authority or Caspar for Everleigh. It's not personal. Please understand. An opportunity came and is giving us the chance to better our lives. Wouldn't you take it? Melly asks leader to leader. This is the third reasonable thing in this book. I'm with this lady, sell them to whoever. Melly tells them that she's giving them 2 moons to decide and that they will send whoever offers the most. Acacia asks if she can speak to Valinor and Melly says yes because they want proof of life anyway. Acacia has to go without Everleigh. The horror. Acacia speaks to Galton and tells him to offer the most, not just for her but also for Everleigh. He does not want to do this because she literally kidnapped her. Acacia says that's an order and Melly's like, okay, phone call over, you have proof of life. Melly is going to have Acacia taken to a room, but Everleigh is a criminal and she is going to put her in the prison. Acacia demands she be brought with her, but Melly is like, LOL, no. So Acacia is like, okay, put me in prison too, and Melly is like, okay, sure. When they get to prison, Acacia asks if Everleigh is okay because her knuckles are swollen. Oh, I keep thinking this can't get any worse, and yet it continues to. Story of 2025, right guys? They try to come up with a plan to escape, but they can't think of anything good. They are at least being fed and have cots, better than where they've been sleeping lately. Melly comes to visit them to talk about what they experienced on her planet. Acacia asks why they don't colonize the rest of the planet, which is a gross question, but she's white, so what did we expect? Melly tells her that it's too dangerous. Duh. They surrounded the city by water because Grimelings can't swim. Acacia is just like, kill them, and Melly is like, we can't, there are more of them than us and we don't have enough resources. She thinks that the ransom money could help them with that. Acacia has another nightmare and Everleigh is there to help her. I shook my head. I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to think about it. I want it to get out of my head. A tear dripped down my face. Ever wiped it away with her thumb. This is reasonable because she was tortured and I feel the narrative only cares when it's convenient or when the author wants them to cuddle. So guess what they do? They cuddle. It's the next day and Everleigh is starting to get stir crazy. Ever grew more and more restless as the day wore on, pacing back and forth against the length of the room. She was like a caged animal. I wondered how much of that was built in from the jaguar DNA. This feels like it's going into a weird bestiality territory, but we don't have time to unpack all of that. Everleigh is starting to freak out and start shouting about it, and Acacia tells her the pacing is driving her crazy. So instead of realizing that they have a lot of differences that probably wouldn't make them compatible, they make out again. Thankfully, a guard comes and tells them to follow him. Melly apologizes when they show up again, but she says that she has to do what's right for her people. Again, queen behavior. Acacia notices that the jump device in the room is on and that Everleigh's ship is in range. How lucky. Acacia thinks about how while Valinor is rich, they might not have as much as the space mafia. Also that whatever way this goes, Everleigh is fucked. Everleigh gets the gun and shoots the guard in the shoulder so that they can get the thing. Acacia gets Nero, and Everleigh says that the ship might not have her crew on it, but Acacia says that they don't have a choice. More guards rush in and tell Everleigh to drop the weapon. Everleigh tells them that they're leaving, and Melly tells them to take Everleigh out. Icon. A guard shoots at Everleigh, and Acacia jumps in front of the bullet like an idiot. I don't know why she did all of this when she's just horny. Buy a vibrator. Everleigh teleports them to the ship, and everyone is obviously worried because Acacia has been shot. She's fine dying apparently, because at least she gets to die in Everleigh's arms. Chapter 16. Chapter 16. Everleigh is now freaking out because Acacia got shot. Huxley and Briar are helping Everleigh bring Acacia to the medical bay and treat her while Zabe drives. Briar gets distracted by Nero, who is cute, before getting yelled at about it. I would shoot Everleigh for yelling at me like that after she got my whole family probably killed for nothing. They have to use a shock stick, which is just a defibrillator. Everleigh digs the bullet out with forceps and has Briar shock Acacia again. She then seals the wound with the now working laser wand. She's now stable, and Huxley tells Everleigh to wash up and take a minute. They ask if Everleigh wants to talk, but she grabs water first instead and stares at Acacia some more. Zabe comes in and asks how they both are. She answers him. We find out that they had attached a device to Caspar's comms line, and they heard about the bidding, so they came to get them. Everleigh asks what happened to them while they were separated. When they saw Caspar fire on the escape pod, they fired on him, and it has disabled his ship. He hasn't been able to go anywhere, and his comms were down until 2 nights ago. They stayed out of his weapons range, trying to figure out what to do, but when they contacted Valinor, Valinor didn't want to work with them. You know, because of the kidnapping. They waited until he was distracted to sneak past him, since he has the anti-cloaking device. Then they got close enough that Everleigh could use the teleporter gun. Yay! Everleigh asks if he's killed their families, and they say they don't think so, but there's no way to know for sure. Their theory is that because his comm system was down, he couldn't call anyone to kill them. Briar asks if they've worked everything out since they were rescued together. She hates me for betraying her, not that I blame her. I've been trying to be patient, hoping she'll come around, but I think ... she might be. I don't know if she can ever really forgive me, and ... How did she get shot? Bra asks. She saved me. Sounds like she's forgiven you. Unfortunately for all of us, she's not a well-written character, so she has in fact forgiven her. Everleigh tears up when she tells them she's glad they're all okay and that Caspar didn't kill them. They all hug it out before Everleigh plops down in a chair near Acacia. Briar notices that the wound is almost healed already, so Everleigh spills that she has nanites. That seems like something personal that you shouldn't announce to your whole crew, but we've already established that no one cares about consent or boundaries, particularly when it comes to Acacia. Zabe asks a pretty good question, like, could someone control nanites in her brain, and Everleigh admits she doesn't know. Briar, the tech genius, tells them that it depends on how they're programmed, and says she could run some tests, but she would like permission. At least someone gives a shit about what Acacia wants. They ask if Everleigh wants to shower, which is a polite way to tell her she's stinky, as she's been out in the woods and covered in blood a bunch. I bet you could spell them both from space. Everleigh says no, that she's staying with Acacia. They offer to bring her food, and she begrudgingly accepts this offer. Nero also gets to eat, but he doesn't go too far from Acacia either. Everleigh waits anxiously for a few hours before Acacia gets up. What the hell did you do that for? I demanded. I'll heal. You won't. You won't heal if you're dead. I'm not dead. Everyone in this book is an idiot. Every single person. Everleigh thinks to herself that she is scared of being rejected. She also reminds herself that she's a criminal and Acacia is an empress, which means they won't work out as a couple. Yeah, how did you ever think that this would work? Everleigh tells her that Briar wants to run tests on her for the nanites. Acacia worries that Everleigh's friends will think she's a freak. Everyone on this ship is a freak. They have DNA spliced with animals. You may be the least freaky person here. Briar asks for consent again when she gets there because she's the only person who understands anything about consent. She just draws some blood to do the tests, and Everleigh gets Acacia some food. Acacia asks if she can shower, and Everleigh offers to take her to the room that she was staying in before. Acacia then says that Everleigh could take a shower with her.
Daddy, you better. I kind of think that I'm cute and
Everleigh wants to do that desperately, but she says that she can't. She takes a shower on her own. When she's done, Briar tells her she smells better. I told you they smelled rank. Everleigh asks where they are and what they're doing. Briar shows her where they are, but isn't sure if they're bringing Acacia home yet. They are 2 nights away from Valinor. Acacia comes out and asks what about killing Caspar. Acacia said she could offer to buy them, but that Caspar probably wouldn't go for it. The crew agrees because they are too important to be let go of. The chapter ends with Acacia getting ready to murder him. Slay. Chapter 17. We're in Acacia's POV and she says she wants to do it personally. Zabe says that they all want him dead, not just her. Given that they've been dealing with him for longer, that's fair, but I would say that the intensity was worse for Acacia overall, physically at least. Acacia insensitively asks if they're all under his thumb because they're splicers. They are not happy about Everleigh telling a rando. Acacia rushes to say that she didn't give details. Everleigh explains that Acacia's dad was the head of DRI and they are more accepting after that because they were both experiments of the same guy. Acacia asks if they found out about their families and they don't know what happened and they also don't know where they are, so they can't check. Why? Why can't they just check? You're a super hacker. Hack into his stuff again. They have pictures that he sends as proof of life and he proves when food is delivered to them. He would send pictures of who was beaten if they messed up too. They have been trying to figure out where they are from the pictures, but it's a big old galaxy out there. Acacia is like, okay, we need to contact Valinor. Valinor is not happy to get more contact from the ship until they see Acacia. Galton asks the logical questions of whether she's safe because he's not as stupid as these other people. Anger flashes in his eyes. Empress, these people betrayed you before. They'll do it again. He has such a good point. Why are these side characters the ones that have sense? Petition for Galton to be the main character. Acacia tells him that she trusts them and that she's safe. He wants to send someone for her, but she says she has something to do first. Acacia asks if anything major happened and they're like, no. She asks if they knew what Casper wanted and they say yes. She asks if they are in possession of the information and they say no, that it was all destroyed. She's not sure if Galton is telling the truth or not. You can't seem to tell if anyone is lying unless they're saying something you don't want to hear. She's worried Caspar will retaliate, so Vika says that they will double security. Again, I cannot tell how many people live on her planet. Can we get an estimate? After the call, Acacia is ready to go. Zabe points out they need a plan. Why? No one ever plans in this book, so why start now? They think going for the ship is the best course of action. They could launch a missile at it, but they also want the information on the splicers and nanites to be destroyed and can't guarantee that the information would be destroyed that way. Have you guys never heard of the Cloud? He could have saved it digitally for like ever. Again, like iCloud came out in 2011, by the way. They discuss getting on the ship and killing him, but again, that doesn't do anything for the data. Briar suggests a bomb planted at the core of the ship. They ask Zabe if he can make a bomb for them, and he says yes, and that he needs a few days, and that they might need to stop at a space station. Everleigh and Acacia both say me when Briar asks who's going to plant the bomb. Everleigh points out that Acacia has never done anything like this before, but Acacia says she needs to know he's really gone, so maybe her nightmares will go away. That's not how PTSD works. I can confirm as a first-hand source. Zabe says he knows how she feels because Caspar killed his brother right in front of him. Zabe reminds her that they all have reasons for wanting him dead, but that Everleigh's experience of getting in and out of places undetected is what they really need. When they're done talking, it's late and they head off to their rooms. Everleigh drops her off at her door and Acacia mentally beats herself up for not inviting her in or kissing her goodnight. Aw, rats! I nodded and I went in the room. Why didn't I invite her in or give her a goodnight kiss? My heart ached to be with her. I missed her when she wasn't close to me. I missed how the air felt when she was around. What does that mean? What does this mean? How does Everleigh affect the quality of the air? She gets changed and goes to bed. Later she wakes up with another night terror and she tries to calm herself from a panic attack, but it's not working. Recording session number 3. Also, my footage might not be great because this camera kind of sucks, but I don't have money to get a new one yet, and doing it on my phone has been a nightmare, so I'm just gonna keep doing it on this camera for a bit, and sorry if the camera quality is terrible. Later that night, I woke up in a deep sweat and gasping for air. My body trembled even under the blanket. I jammed my eyes closed and fought against the panic. I tried to remember what Ever had taught me, but my brain wouldn't cooperate. My chest tightened and my throat burned. I pulled at the collar of my shirt. I couldn't do this. Tears streaked down my face. Ever! I flew from my room and down the corridor, only stopping when I was in front of her door. I pounded on it, hoping she was in there. The door opened and there Ever stood with a look of concern on her face. Cassie? She took a step toward me and pulled me into her arms. You're safe. I shook my head, the tears building up so much I couldn't see. Her arms were around me, holding me close, keeping me safe. I've got you. She led me inside into her bed, almost tripping over Nero as he rushed in. What in the Peter Malark is this? If Peter did this, he did it 1,000% better. I get why you're trying to copy him, but damn, you can't outdo the doer. Also, sometimes I pretend Peter is a butch lesbian because it makes me happy inside. Chapter 18. Everleigh is there and we get to see Acacia's panic attack through her eyes too. It's not repetitive at all. This whole book isn't repetitive in the slightest. Why would you say that? Everleigh has to focus on what she can see, taste, and feel. I'm not knocking anyone who uses this technique, but it has never, ever worked for me. I hated that I could only comfort her, that I couldn't protect her from what was going on in her mind. I loathed that it was because of me she had these attacks. Punish yourself then. Go on, do it. I want to see what you come up with. Everleigh asks if she wants to stay, and they cuddle up, yay. Acacia asks her if it has to be Everleigh that plants the bombs, because she's not into this, and Everleigh says yes, because she's the one for the job. She tells her that Briar won't turn it on until after she's off the ship, but Acacia is worried that things will go wrong. I will, Case. I'll come back, part Jaguar, remember? Always land on your feet, she tried to joke. Something like that.
Walk out the door, you see someone that you know and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
They fall asleep together. They wake up and they smell eggs. Huxley was nice enough to cook them a hot breakfast. We learned that Huxley is spliced with a gray wolf. It's Animorphs, guys. Shitty, not good in the slightest Animorphs. Everleigh asks about the investigation of what happened on Kypra. The Authority never found the second Wappy ship spacecraft thing. The leaders were killed and there were replacements, but a lot of the replacements chose to rejoin the Alliance anyway. So whatever was going on didn't work out super well. Acacia asks if it was a coup, and Briar says, well, I just said that if it wasn't a very good one, because like too many leaders rejoined the Alliance anyway. Briar thinks that they will try again. Briar then asks about Taronda, the planet that they had crash landed on. They say it was horrible and wonderful at the same time. Everleigh lets herself daydream a little, but she gets all hung up again. I thought about the Authority. Even if Caspar was out of the way, we were still fugitives. I couldn't bring Cassie into a life of living on the run. I wouldn't. She deserved normal. She deserved happiness. I couldn't give that to her. I wiped away a tear before anyone had a chance to say it. This book keeps hitting us over the head with how they can't be together. I don't care anymore. I don't. Also, she's an empress. What even is normal for her? Her last couple of months were being kidnapped and tortured, and before that she was in survival classes, which doesn't make any sense because she was a freaking empress. This all feels so forced. If this had been written well, I wouldn't care as much, but it isn't. It isn't written well. Briar confronts Everleigh about her feelings, but Everleigh says she's just attracted to Acacia. Briar tells her that that is a lie and she needs to tell her how she feels. Everleigh says that she deserves more than living on the run. We literally just said this. Briar points out that there could be other options. Instead, Everleigh shows Briar her rap sheet like she doesn't already know what's on it. Briar says that Acacia will understand that they aren't stone cold killers. I mean, they kind of are. They were delivering them to Caspar and they didn't care until one of them was hot, but whatever. Everleigh says that it doesn't matter to the Authority. She says she's going to bring Acacia home and forget about her. Briar keeps pressuring her to tell her how she feels, and Everleigh caves and says fine. So what was all this for? All of this grandstanding was for nothing. Pretty much sums up this book. All of this was for nothing. Chapter 19. Acacia is trying to help Briar narrow down where the pictures might be from. Briar shows her the places that they have ruled out. Briar decides to take some time to call out Acacia's feelings also. She asks if she's forgiven Everleigh, and Acacia says yes, because of course she's forgiven her. Briar explains that turning people over to Caspar hasn't been easy for Everleigh, and that she's had PTSD symptoms like nightmares. Briar also says that she's never seen Everleigh have feelings for anyone because Acacia is the special. Acacia doesn't confide in Briar because she wasn't sure if she could trust Briar with her feelings, and that she can't trust herself either. She pivots to asking how many people Caspar has. It was originally around 100, but they're not sure how many are left. Briar also drops unprompted that she is spliced with a white tiger. No one asked. Acacia asked if they were born on a planet and if the people could still be on the same one. Briar says yes, but that she was very young and she can't remember which one it was. Acacia asks if she's tried hypnosis. Briar agrees to search for a hypnotist. Also, that's not how hypnosis works. My mom took me to that for a long time when I was a kid, and that's not how it works. Whatever. We're taking up too much time here. They then both ask if they freak each other out because they're different. They're bonding 76% through this book. How cute! The rest of the crew comes into the room and Zabe is almost ready. He just needs one more thing from Ignix's station. Briar says, wonderful, there's a hypnotist there. Briar says she's the one who will go through the hypnosis. I do not care. Briar asks Everleigh to buy her an AI robot. Enough! I hate robots! Stay away from me! Briar wants to download the AI they already have into the body and says she'll be able to assist them better, but never explains how. You can't just say things but then not explain it. How would that help? How? Everleigh agrees that she will get it though without any follow-up question. Briar gets the results for the nanites. They are only programmed to heal things, not anything else. It's a little boring, but hey. Briar says that she can still die, but as long as she doesn't die immediately, the nanites should be able to heal just about anything. Huxley asks if they can be reprogrammed, and Briar says that they can't receive new instructions. They are essentially hack-proof, but it may be possible to disrupt them. Briar is still running tests on them, blah blah blah. Later, Everleigh invites Acacia to her room for the night. She goes with her and they get changed. After a long moment, she took off her clothes. I bit down on my lip so hard I almost drew blood. She was absolutely gorgeous. I licked my lips. My mouth had suddenly become dry as I gazed at her body. She was everything that I dreamed of. She was my soulmate. Not only is this the opposite of sexy, but she needs to calm down. Soulmate? My ass. They go to bed together, they don't have sex. For a book that wants them to have sex so bad, like, it's crazy the lack of sex in this book is all I'm saying. Chapter 20. Everleigh is excited to be in bed with Acacia and is thinking about how this is all she needs. She's brimming with emotions as they lie together. I do not care. She wakes up in the... Could you tell I was getting tired of this in the script by the end? Jesus. She wakes up in the morning and they are cuddling. Acacia starts kissing her neck and ear. Gross. They stop and Everleigh uses the bathroom. Acacia has given her a hickey. Everleigh wants to mark her too, but Acacia says it will just heal. She does it anyway. Yay, I love this. Acacia gets her ring back from Everleigh. She's excited to have it. She looked through my clothes. You seriously don't have anything other than black? Not really. She huffed and put the clothes on. They're a little tight. You have more curves than I do. I placed my hands on her hips. Are you calling me fat? Laughing, I said, no way, just more curves and I like them. I like them a lot. I want to go home. I am home, but I want to be more home. This book is making me lose my brain functioning. They're kissing again. It's not like they have more pressing matters, I guess, like murdering a guy and all the people on that ship. I guess all those tortured people are just gonna go out with a bang, by the way. Like, what about all this? This was not thought out at all. The intercom starts buzzing and Everleigh tries to ignore it by continuing to make out. Briar busts in and is like, whoops, we're almost at the space station, lol. I'm guessing she doesn't normally answer the door in her underwear. Cassie smiled. Hey, come here, come here. It's not funny. Stop trying to be funny. It's just cringe. Stop it. Cassie closed the space between us in a swift move. She seized my lips for one last searing kiss and then slipped out the door. I smell eggs. See, the amount of eggs in this book is driving me crazy and it doesn't make any sense. They have not stopped anywhere else. They were hanging out near Caspar's ship until they could save the girls, which I'm pretty sure was like weeks. Where are all these eggs coming from? If you had chickens on your ship, I would have heard about it by now. Everleigh gets dressed and goes to eat breakfast. She looks and thinks about how comfortable they all look and that Acacia isn't an outsider anymore. Oh my god, shut up. This isn't found family because she hasn't spent enough time with the rest of them for it to count. You can't rush found family. Zabe makes fun of Everleigh for her hickey. Acacia's is already gone, duh. Everleigh is worried because the Authority has more of a presence on this space station, but don't worry, they'll be careful, guys. They get out and everyone has errands except for Huxley. He's going to the casino. I guess it's to make more money because Caspar isn't paying them anymore.
You guys are getting paid?
Technically an errand, but I don't really count that as an errand. Everleigh says she needs to get some supplies, but Acacia can go wherever she wants. She decides to go with Everleigh because of course she does. Everleigh is meeting with someone named Lael because he is the only one on the space station she trusts. She apparently has enough dirt on him that he'll do anything she wants. This is kind of a mood. I bet she's a Scorpio. Just kidding, I'm a Scorpio and Everleigh could never be that cool. But at the same time, like, didn't we establish earlier in this video that, like, you probably shouldn't trust people you're blackmailing? Whatever. She pays him for the supplies and asks how bad the authority presence is. He says on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 4. She asks him to remove the tracker on her ship and that no one else but him and his crew are allowed on her ship. Everleigh is sneaking around with Acacia right behind her, and Everleigh whinges internally that they can never be together. We get it. Stop it. We got it. Everleigh is meeting with a guy named Siarl. It's S-I-A-R-L. To trade. Everleigh doesn't want Acacia to see the criminal side of her, but my guy, you kidnapped her. It was a major plot point of this book. Do you think kidnapping is not a crime? Kidnapping is a crime. She wants to trade a toxin that kills people for something. Siarl threatens her because she wants more. She threatens him back. He sneakily threatens Acacia. None of us care about this. The trade is made and they leave. Everleigh notices that Acacia is nervous and asks if she's okay. Acacia asks if she's okay with selling toxins that kill people, and Everleigh says she can't think about it because she needs the money. She explains to Acacia that she's a criminal. Again, no one has to use their brain. Acacia is being overly idealistic. I don't think about it. I can't. I just do it for the money. It wasn't the first time I had felt guilty selling stuff like that, but it was the first time I hadn't wanted to ever do it again. I'm sorry, I'm a criminal, Cassie. You do know what that means. I do bad, illegal things. It's my way of life. It doesn't have to be, but it is. Guilt brought tears to my eyes. I wiped them away angrily. It's who I am. No, I do not accept that. You are kind, loving, caring, and wonderful. You're smart and tough. You're sensitive and vulnerable. You're so much more than a criminal. I wish you could see yourself the way I do. She cupped my face and held my gaze. First of all, it's easy to speak about this if you're someone who has never had to do any criminal things in order to survive. You're a fucking empress. It also just sounds like somebody who's never experienced poverty, and you think that like these other characteristics mean that like you're not like other criminals, the criminalness isn't that bad. Like most people aren't criminals because they want to be. Like I don't know. She annoys me so much. Like they all annoy me. Everleigh says that she wants to take Acacia on a real date, but they have to keep a low profile. They decide to shop, which I don't think is keeping a low profile, but what do I know? It's just so they can have another sexy clothes changing scene. It's gross. She gets a blue shirt instead of black because Acacia wants her to wear colors. This is so important to the plot, guys. Chapter 21. We're so close. Oh my god. Acacia is thinking about how she thinks that Everleigh is holding something back, but she won't push. These two are so annoying. And I actually like romance, guys. You will see me watching 27 Dresses over and over again. Do you know how hard it is to get me not to root for love? To not root for gay love? I hate it here. I have feelings for you, she muttered. I gathered from all the kissing. I want to like this, but I can't. I got nothing. Everleigh starts going on a long thing about how they can't be together because of her lifestyle, and Acacia doesn't agree. Everleigh says there is no way out, or at least not any that she can think of, and I believe her because she's a moron. Acacia says her catchphrase, again, I hate it here, and then she kisses her and they are going to leave. Acacia goes to the bathroom and she overhears some people talking about the crew being here. She runs back up to the bar and tells Everleigh to get out of here because people know she's here. They decide that Acacia is going to grab Huxley and Briar while Everleigh is going to get Zabe. Acacia is still scared that Everleigh will get caught. Acacia steals a wig, but we've established that they're not looking for her. It's stupid. Acacia pretends that she's Huxley's girlfriend when she comes up to him and gives him a little smooch. She has him go out a side exit so he won't get caught. Acacia gets the winnings for him and puts them in a shopping bag. Next up, she's trying to get Briar and pretends to be her sister. They grab her and they're on their way back to the ship. Too bad the authority is telling them to stop or they'll shoot. I wish they would. Typical pigs though, am I right? They duck into a store and weave through the aisles until they are able to get back out and board the spaceship. Zabe and Everleigh are on the spaceship and Zabe says he's going to finish the bomb. Briar did not figure out much about where her and the others' families might be. She remembered that the Sunstar was a blue giant but couldn't remember much else except for harsh winters. This lines up with Caspar leaving them on a desolate planet so they would have to depend on him. They are now tracking Caspar's ship, which has been fixed. Briar is also going to set up the AI while they wait. Chapter 22. Everleigh is freaking out because Acacia was in danger. Acacia is like, duh, all of us were. Everleigh says, you don't deserve it, but none of them really do. Can you be held completely accountable for the crimes you do while under duress. I know we're not having a philosophy lesson or discussion, but it's still something to think about. Acacia admits to kissing Huxley to get him out, but Everleigh interrupts her to make out with her. They kiss shirtless for a while, and Everleigh does something with her thigh between Acacia's legs. It stops, thankfully, because it's written about as well as the rest of the book. I'm sure you can imagine. They then curl up in bed, and Everleigh can't sleep much. Everleigh chastises herself for being selfish because she can't keep her distance, but she's about to die anyway, so who cares? In the morning, Acacia is nauseous and doesn't want anything to eat. She's worried about losing Everleigh, which is valid, I guess. I don't know how any of you have survived this long, though. Zabe hands over the bomb. The core of the ship is magnetic, so she just needs to attach it to that and then get out of there. Briar will set it off remotely after she jumps back to the ship. They won't be able to be stationary as the cloaking device won't work because of Caspar's device. Caspar's security is also better now because at least there is one not completely stupid character in this book. Everleigh placing the bomb takes 2 paragraphs. Only 2 paragraphs. I'm not joking. Briar contacts her and tells her that Acacia took the other jump device and a gun. So now Everleigh has to go find her. Everleigh says as much, and here's gunshots seconds later. Chapter 23. Acacia didn't know how to use the jump device, so she's winging it. She's obviously there to kill Caspar. She sees a room full of cages with human-shaped figures in them. They aren't human though, they're covered in fur. Acacia knows in her heart that these are experiments that have gone wrong. Acacia takes this opportunity to check one of Caspar's computers. This is stupid because wouldn't people password protect their stuff, especially stuff like this? I didn't get a computer until 2012 and I put a password on my laptop. She finds his files on splicers immediately. Acacia also just knows that Everleigh was kept in a cage at one point, which how do you know? How do you know? She smashes the computer screen in a rage even though she knows that won't delete the files. She gets to the bridge and is listening in on them. It's definitely the Nirvana, but they keep moving. They know we can see them. The guard said. Caspar sighed like he was annoyed. Should have killed them when I had the chance. As soon as you can, fire on them. Once their ship has been destroyed, I want to fill the cages with splicers, kill the rest, and personally go to Valinor. I will get what I want. Like bloody hell you will, I said, stepping into the room with my weapon drawn. Girl, you should have just shot him. Should have just shot him. Why did you need him to know that it was you who was gonna shoot him? Anyway, Caspar is like, if you pull that trigger, you're a criminal, and like she gets upset because she killed him and one of the guards, and she's like, I am a criminal, and like just because you stop the space mafia, like you're a criminal? Like what is this weird centrist shit? He killed a ton of people and like someone was gonna try to kill him for real anyway. Like you just succeeded. I don't get it. At least she actually shot them. This sets the alarms off, however. Everleigh shows up and they teleport back to the Nirvana. Everleigh needs to take the gun away from Acacia, but she's not responding because she still has PTSD. She tells everyone else to get out so she can safely take the gun. She's able to. Yay. Briar hits the FTL speed button and they go off.
On the syrup.
Everleigh asks why she did that when he was just going to die in the blast anyway. Acacia doesn't answer and is horrified that she has blood on her hands now. Girl, what did you think shooting somebody does? Like, did you think it was gonna blow kisses at him? They tortured you. I know she's having a trauma response, but I can't stand this constant moralizing. Everleigh wants to her to take a shower. Hey, she said, her thumbs are wiping away my tears. If you don't take off your clothes, I'll take them off for you. And believe me, I do not want the first time I strip you down to be remembered this way. This is fucking disgusting. How dare you force her into the shower this way? This is creepy and gross. Just because you're trying to help does not mean that this is okay. She does not have to go in the shower while she's having a trauma response. Acacia cries in the shower and then eventually gets out and gets dressed. Everleigh braids her hair and Acacia apologizes for freezing. They don't talk much about it. Everleigh forces her to eat even though she's not hungry. Acacia is freaking out inside about being a murderer. He killed a ton of people and was gonna kill you and maybe a lot of people on your planet. He also had you kidnapped and tortured. I hate this. This is just to make her seem like a moral and just person. It's not working on me. I prefer my women complicated and messy. Not Ianthe messy though, that's too much for even me. She meets up with everyone else on the ship and says sorry, and they're like, what are you sorry for? It's happened to all of us before. Yay, trauma spaceship! Acacia says she needs to go back to Valinor for answers. She asks if Everleigh will come and she's like, is that allowed? And Acacia has to remind her that she's the empress of an entire planet. So off to Valinor they go. Briar brings up that they need to find their families soon because they won't survive without Caspar. Everleigh promises promises that they will, but they have to drop Acacia off first. Everleigh says she's going to put Acacia to bed like a child. LMAO. Briar is going to keep working while Zabe and Huxley are going to play a card game. At least someone is having a good time. I didn't sleep that night. Ever sat up against the head of her bed with my head in her lap. For a long time she was quiet. Then she said, "We were on a mission for Caspar. He wanted this antique from the Mezzi Corporation. Briar and I went in for it. We were caught. A guard pushed Briar into me, knocking me over. Before I could get up, he was on top of me and pinning me down. The knife in his hand was coming at me. Briar jumped on his back and stabbed his shoulder. He dropped the knife in his hand, grabbed her and threw her into a wall, knocking her out. It gave me just enough time to get the dagger I had hidden in my boot. When he reached for his knife, I swung mine, slicing his throat. Then, like that wasn't going to kill him, I took a step further and thrust the knife into his heart. He fell onto me, covering me in his blood. I pushed him off, scooped up Briar and the antique and jumped out of there. I was quiet while picturing the scenario. That's different, I said softly. You were protecting Briar. Briar, defending yourself. You're not a cold-blooded killer. Neither are you. I nodded, but her words meant nothing. Acacia is having like a reasonable reaction to having committed violence that she's never done before, even if she was the one who wanted to do the violence in the first place. I know Everleigh is like trying to relate to her, but I hate it. It feels really shallow and hollow. The next day, everyone is just hanging out. Acacia asks Briar which planet they're going to check for their families first, and they're going to start with the closest. They hug. I feel everyone gets too familiar far too quickly. This crew have not hung out with her for long at all. They spar, and Acacia thinks about how much she likes to spend time with all of them now. Acacia uses the punching bag at Everleigh's suggestion to get out some rage. This is interrupted by Briar showing them her AI. The AI wakes up and is creepy. They marvel at how fancy the AI is now, but it makes Acacia think about her nanites. Everleigh has to actually do her job, and Acacia goes and finds Nero cuddling with Zabe. She calls Nero a traitor, but the real traitor is about to be Zabe. He says she's good for them. He trauma dumps about his brother being murdered in front of him. He tells Acacia that she's brave but stupid. That's the underestimation of the century. He tells her to be patient with Everleigh. They all eat dinner. Zabe finally tells us he's part black bear. This is so stupid. Acacia says thanks for opening up to her and making her feel like part of her family. Again, found family has to be earned. She goes off to Everleigh's room, but Everleigh creeps up behind her like a freak and tells her she has permission to come whenever and her handprint is loaded or whatever. They cuddle. Acacia is sad because she will miss all of them and she likes pretending that she's not royalty. Poor little rich girl. Give me your chef. Give him to me. They cuddle and Acacia thinks this is the best time to bring up the cages. Everleigh doesn't want to say anything about it and Acacia says, I just want you to know that you can talk to me if you want. Who doesn't love being reminded of the horrifying trauma they went through before bed? Chapter 24. We're still with Acacia in the morning. Everleigh asks for an update about Caspar's ship and reports are saying it was an internal explosion with no foul play. Yay, they got away with it! Be gay, do crime! They talk about the tracker Caspar had on the ship, but why does that matter? He's dead, it's disabled. Stop beating a dead horse. They call Valinor to announce their arrival. They use the jump device to get down there, just her and Everleigh for now. Galton is unhappy because he's not stupid. He's glad that Acacia is home though, and so is Bristow. Acacia tells Bristow he did a good job running the place while she was gone. Acacia introduces Everleigh. Galton huffed, she's the one who turned you over to Caspar. The reason you crashed on that planet. The reason you were almost sold back to him. Galton, I appreciate your concern, but it is none of your business. How is it not his business? How? Go on. Explain it! We're all dying to hear about it. His job is literally to keep you alive. Galton has to interrupt all of their super fun introductions because they have important things to talk about. Yeah, no shit. They go over what's been happening since she was gone. It's boring. Nothing major happened. She then questions him about the nanite. He's not happy about being questioned about it. Acacia got hit in a firefight with an intruder, so they put the nanites in her so she wouldn't die. She wants to know why no one told her. He says that her dad was going to, but he's dead and he should have mentioned it. He apologizes even though I don't think he should have to. This man has been through enough. Justice for Galton. They all have a circle jerk about how this doesn't change who you are. Ugh. She wants to know about what happened when her parents were killed. He explains that they were researching splicing and when they were attacked they exploded the lab and wiped the computers to keep the information safe. Why did he have to blow it up? So everything would be destroyed so nobody could get their hands on his research. Your father was a good man, Empress. He did not want his experiments and discoveries to be used for bad things. He literally experimented on people. He was not a good person. Galton says he doesn't have any more answers for her because he didn't completely understand the science. I get that. The original splicers were 20 sets of parents who volunteered. I don't care if they volunteered, it's still horrible. He also tells her that Project Infinity was a way to extend life. I don't remember them mentioning this, but whatever. The name could not have been more obvious, though. They also say that there is a traitor among them who leaked the information and might be part of the reason Acacia got kidnapped. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't care about this either. After that, we get this. So where's your throne? I rolled my eyes. I don't have a throne. Too bad. My eyes shot over to her at the deep tone in her voice. Would seeing me sitting on a throne be a turn on for you? She took a step closer. Well, I guess we'll never know. Someone rescue me from this book. I will never recover from this. Thank you, Bristow, for walking in on them so they have stopped. Yay. Bristow asks her why Everleigh, you know, like why her after Everleigh leaves the room, which is a very fair question, but he rolls over immediately. The rest of the crew come down to see the planet. Galton is angry that they didn't bow to the Empress right away. He says it's not appropriate, and I kind of agree. But of course Acacia doesn't agree. She tells him he needs to treat them with respect. My eyes are about to roll out of my head. Acacia offers to let them stay on Valinor, but they have to get their families. She is also reminded that they are criminals and she could be in trouble with the authority for harboring them. She says that they can be reasoned with, but no one believes her. They have a big dinner. Acacia begs Everleigh to stay just one night. There is still a lot of egg talk for some reason.
Still can't stand the sight of eggs. Won't eat them, won't touch them.
What about a nice egg salad?
No more egg talk.
Yes, more egg talk! Egg!
Zabe, who has been on the ship the whole time, shoots down to say goodbye. She's thrilled that he cares about her. I'm angry at him for betraying us all. After he leaves, Acacia and Everleigh start to get hot and heavy in the bedroom, but Everleigh says no because Acacia is special. Take your pants off, Cassie. I just want you to lay with me and I want to feel your skin on mine. This is our last night together. I want to remember ever, please. Is this a lesbian version of soaking? Is that what we're doing here? They do just that, yay. Chapter 25, yay, last chapter. Everleigh is up and she's watching Acacia. She doesn't want to leave. Cry face emoji. She tells Acacia she loves her before getting out of bed. Galton is glaring at her when she gets to the command center and she tells him she's going to leave, so he's thrilled. I love him. She tells Bristow if Acacia needs help to call her and warns him that she has panic attacks now. She goes outside to use the jump device and Acacia runs up to her before she can and kisses her. Everleigh thinks she let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. This is not even as good as most of the fan fictions I read, just so you know. They kiss again, more longingly this time. I feel nothing. I am numb. Acacia confesses that she's in love with Everleigh. She says that she doesn't have to say it back, but she wants Everleigh to come back. They both talk about how they belong where they are, like space and Valinor, and that they probably wouldn't work out anyway. They kiss one last time, and that is the end of the book. Conclusion. How are we feeling? I'm feeling exasperated. I know that you can DNF books, but I pay money for my books, so I feel like I can't. I just power through. This book had some potential in some of the plot elements that it wanted to use, but it utilized none of them well. It literally was all telling and not showing. There was not a single instance of showing anything. All of the cool action things that could have been interesting are cut out. This book honestly had so much stuff in it that it probably should have been the full 3 books just in this one book, but they didn't do that. I gave this book 1.5 stars on Storygraph, and I'm not gonna lie, that feels a little bit high, but I'm not gonna change it. I do still feel it's better significantly than like Trisix's Venom. So if you've made it this far, please leave a spaceship emoji. If you want me to read the second book in the series, I will do it, but I will need to be fairly compensated. So either I need to get paid somehow, or we need to get to 1,000 subscribers and you guys all have to really want me to do it. You have to ask me a bunch of times, okay? I hope you all have a great weekend and I will see you in the next one. Bye!